thing before we like when we join the call. Like universally, one of us has to like go and fucking fix the thing in the soundboard. Zach doesn't do it as often now, but it used to be this 1-to-1 ratio. Now it's just solely me because I haven't changed operating systems.
Yeah, you should
Yeah,
go to Mint.
go to Mint. When I upgrade something or other, it's going to Mint. But I haven't upgraded anything, so I'm not upgrading anything because nothing's broken so far.
Hmm.
But yeah, Mint supposedly doesn't fuck around with your sound settings.
So
My last set of books is over there, and they're too far away. That's all right. I have everything laid out neatly.
right, we're now streaming. On
Quick,
Hello,
stop talking
internet.
Stop talking about your job.
Yeah, that's probably for the best. See, when I was looking back at the recording, I've noticed that I've been awfully quiet. Is that just me problem? Or is it
Yeah,
something else?
you are pretty quiet.
It's a you problem. Turn up your go into sound and turn your volume up on you would be the way to do it.
Yeah, see, we're treating people on the stream to the pre-stream chat. I can turn it off if you want.
It's fine.
So there's a little bit of music and the 10-minute countdown, but we can start going whenever you want.
Yep. You are still quite on the stream. I've gone and checked.
Yeah, the thing is, I have absolutely no idea what the fuck I'm doing with computers these days. And the
Go to
screen
user settings
closed.
down the bottom right hand corner. Go to halfway down voice and video.
Yes.
And then put your input device. Mine's all the way to the right, but
Okay,
yeah,
so what you need to do is switch off automated input sensitivity, which is just a toggle, and then drag that slider all the way over to the left-hand side, and then go back up the top and just up the volume of your microphone just a little bit.
Yeah, the input volume is set to the max.
Then it's are you on Windows or are you on something else?
I'm on the hang on. Automatic inputs is. See, is this any better?
No,
it won't cut you off now.
So
that won't change your volume level. It changes.
You go to voice and video. You say your microphone's already maxed out. There's a thing called input sensitivity. Switch that off and drag the slider all the way over to the left.
Is this better? Hello.
Yeah, that's much better. Well, no, you haven't managed to do it because the green line around your window isn't on.
Oh, fuck's sake! Any better now?
No, you have to switch that input sensitivity off.
Yeah, it is off.
And then drag the slider
Drag the
beneath
slide
it
to the left.
all the way to the left.
Okay.
There you go. You fixed it.
Yeah.
We can tell because we can see your green line around you type thing. Now you don't like that doesn't auto set your volume. Yeah. It fixes half the problem. Then keep going. So your microphone input is all the way up, which means you have to go into Windows, go to your sound setting in Windows, and then crank up the microphone in there.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that.
And don't ask me how to do that because Windows, I don't have a fucking clue.
Okay. Shall we go live with all this excitement?
Oh, why not?
Bing.
All the excitement of me drinking drinks.
I'll lock that down. There we go.
Oh, my phone somewhere.
Oh, I've got to edit the text. Where's the text?
Hi, internet. Oh no, I spilled my drink. I've got to get a cloth.
Why the fuck is Windows so annoying these days?
Why is the cat behind me? What is the meaning of this cat?
Fuck. You know, I really fucking hate this latest version of fucking Windows. Give me XP back.
Why? That's why I don't use. It's why we don't use Windows, really, mate.
Yeah, you've also switched on the input sensitivity thing again somehow. I don't know how you did that.
Yeah, I did that because I don't like the idea of constantly broadcasting. It's almost at the minimum, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Let's find a YouTube video that explains me how to do the most basic thing on it.
How do I finish that?
Well, just put the microphone closer to you if you can.
It's a fucking headset, mate. It's practically in my fucking nose.
Is there a volume control on the headset for the mic?
No, as far as I know, it doesn't have. Hang on.
No.
What do you want,
It
cat?
doesn't have a mechanical.
What?
Yeah, and the microphone.
I'm here, pussy.
All right.
Hello, pussy.
All right, so we're joined in the chat by both Uncle Doris and Hindsight. So if you're new, like Uncle Doris is, we're actually just discussing cool media and things that we've found on Tinternet and books and stuff like that. So books, art, poetry, music, anything like that. So yes, that's our thing. So who wants to start?
You do, because you said something, so you can go first.
Okay. So my first start is a massive cheat. It's what I'm calling the Awake quadrilogy of movies that are kind of satires on people paying attention. So the first one or two you probably will have heard of. So things like Idiocracy, the Landscape of the Invisible Hand, which you might not have seen. What was it? Big Bug, which is a French movie about AI going rogue. What were the other ones? I didn't bring my list upstairs. And things like Don't Look Up and Office Space.
No, and then the other one you want would be Sorry to Bother You.
Sorry to Bother You. That was on my list, yeah. So those five, so it's a quintology of 5 movies that just like relax you a bit as to how the state of the world is going. You're not crazy. Other people with actual resources have made films about it. So yeah, but it definitely, as far as the commodification of art goes, the Landscape of the Invisible Hand is just incredible. So I saw that the other day, and that's my new piece of media. Yay!
Nice.
We have achieved video with Iron Angel.
Angel has been here.
Oh, so yeah, I found my camera, so I'm pissing around with my camera right now.
Nah, it's no problem. It's pretty much. We've got a few people watching on YouTube.
The volume on my fucking microphone is already set to 100%.
All right.
Talk louder.
Now, sometimes with headsets, you really need to put the mic right in front of your mouth.
Try putting the microphone up your nose and see if that helps at all.
Yeah, but then you can hear the voice inside my head, man. You don't.
All right, now we can hear your intrusive thoughts. So yeah, so I would say the movies that sort of like make you feel like people are thinking the same things as you. So definitely, you know, Sorry to Bother You by Boots Riley of the band The Coup, who are very good. Sort of like hip hop band.
Very, very good.
That are basically communists. And but yeah, I was just thinking there are certain movies that make you feel like somebody out there is thinking the same sort of thing. And Don't Look Up is a brilliant movie. It's sort of like, in its own way, it's kind of like a 1950s war movie, in that there are so many major actors in it. You find yourself recognizing people and going, oh, they decided to show up and do this. Because it didn't have a very high budget, but it is pretty funny. Office Space is another one.
Like every David Lynch film ever. You're like, how did they get that person to come along? And it's like, because they just wanted to be part. They wanted to be part of a David Lynch thing. Yeah. Yep.
So yeah.
No. Cool.
And I don't know if I've mentioned The Blacklist on here, but yeah, definitely watch that.
You have. Yeah, you have mentioned The Blacklist.
I've watched a lot of that.
I believe last week, yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Yep. That's all right.
So somebody else unless you wanted to discuss those.
In the head.
But yeah, if you just want to feel like, oh Christ, at least somebody was, thinking the same sort of thing as me, then those.
Not only was someone thinking the same thing as you, they made a bloody film about thinking it too, and then they spread it around.
So I spent several months making a film about that. But the newest one is the Landscape of the Invisible Hand. That's literally just end of last year. Which is about what would happen. That's possible. So that last one is basically what would happen if aliens landed and they were hyper-capitalist. And
what was that?
Really into, strip mining Earth for humanity, basically. Like they end all war and suffering, and people can just about get by, but they they basically take all the value. It's a transfer of wealth thing.
Yep. Yep. Do you mean it could possibly be a reference to the hypercapitalization of the American overseas industrial spirit?
It's along those lines.
Something to do with that, possibly.
But also, you could add another film to that in the form of Network, which is about assets being sold overseas. And what was the other one? Black Rain. Not Black Rain. Rising Sun with Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes.
Don't think I know it.
It's a Michael Crichton movie about the fear of Japanese companies in the late 1980s, early 90s buying all of America.
Yeah,
and with some pretty interesting.
You mean just before the America? You mean just before Japan completely fucked itself economically by doing what China and America are doing right now?
I mean, if you go back and watch it again, in 1975 when they wrote Network, that's all about the Saudi oil money flooding in to America, and because there wasn't much infrastructure in Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states, they were buying real estate in America.
Yeah, they had to put the money somewhere because they want a return.
It's something like 438,000 hectares of land in America is owned by Chinese interests. So they're very similar ideas. They're very similar sort of. You can almost chart it that So if you start earliest, you've got the Gulf states buying lots of real estate in America.
Yeah.
You've then got the Japanese buying lots of real estate in America. You've then got the Chinese in our present time buying lots of real estate in America because of the balance of trade deficit. And then with the latest film, it's what if aliens were doing it?
Yep.
But very different stories, but it's it's almost like you can follow the zeitgeist for the last 50 years with those movies and see what's going on. So I thought those
very much a fictional look at something that you would see in if you start watching if you start with 1960s with Adam Curtis's documentary filmmaking type thing all the way to the present ones, and you sit down and watch them all in order. Quite a worthy week of your time will be spent doing this type of thing. But then the same shit just turns out you're looking at the reality of what's being broadcast on TV and all of the details of what was actually going on, and then you can refer back to the fictional world in exactly the same way. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
So that's one of the things I brought to the party today. But yeah, they're all very good movies. Are you taking notes?
I will be taking notes afterwards. I'm not taking notes this morning because I have not got organised and I haven't got a pen or anything useful.
No worries.
Because I literally got out of bed, tried to send you a message saying I am up, so we can do it.
Yeah, it was almost unintelligible. It's like you mash the keyboard, and then because you then got focused on getting yourself a cup of tea. It was like going for a drink, but it was all clumped together with no spaces.
Type? I mean,
well, that's how I generally type. But I was trying to type on my phone, and then it didn't seem to come through. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I couldn't even see the messages that I type back.
Yeah. It's like the old Simpsons joke. Your fingers are too fat for this phone. To order a dialing one, simply mash all the keys.
Yeah. Well, my problem is that I haven't got the thing turned on where you can go paint on your keyboard because I can never hold it in my head where the fucking things are. I'd be better off if I had a Nokia phone where I got to press a button 3 times to get a D or something or other. That would actually be more effective. And there was actually a button underneath where my hand needed to go, and I could use my thumbs, which are the least fucked bit of my hands.
I am trying to get my friend Stan on here, given that you're talking about keyboards. Somebody so determined that a bit like a lot of us here, just I am going to learn this thing, built himself from scratch a keyboard. Basically hand soldered in all the switches, built the operating system so it's multi-layers of keyboard, so if you hold down one key you get a whole bunch of different symbols. It's a 2-part keyboard, so he can separate it for his weird, super fast typing style. And he only wanted like a 2mm keycap, so they've got very little travel. Is that much of a touch typist? And he designed the PCB himself as well.
Yeah,
which is insanity. If you're on a quest for the keyboard that you will use for the rest of your life, he's done it.
There's something very like Moonhaven detective what's it called? Hand microscope thing. What's it called?
Yeah. Like the
magnifying glass. Yeah. There's something very Moonhaven magnifying glass about that, or wasn't there? Type thing. Yeah.
And if we haven't mentioned Moonhaven before, go watch that too.
Yep. We have. Because
it's brilliant and horrifying. So somebody else's turn. No.
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I think it's your turn.
Oh, was it? And then, well, I'm making a drink. Jesus. Okay. My choice for this week was something I randomly found. It hasn't all finished. You can't watch all of it yet. I'll bring my drink with me. I'll even stir it in front of the camera. Now I've got an extra spoon I don't need. My extra find this week was a brilliant bit of adult animated TV series that I found by Joseph Bennett and Steve Healy. It's made for Adult Swim. It's called Common Side Effects. It's only just started out. It is the premise of the show. I'm going to read it straight from fucking Wikipedia because I haven't. The show follows two high school friends, Marshall and Francis, who reconnect and discover a new kind of drug that can allegedly cure all illnesses. In the process, they also uncover a conspiracy involving Reticle Pharmaceutical Incorporated, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies, and the government to suppress all the knowledge of said drug. It's absolutely fucking hilarious.
It's brilliant.
It randomly popped up. It randomly popped up, like a scene from it randomly popped up on my phone on TikTok or something when the power was out here on whatever that Friday. The power was out most of the day, so I was watching TikTok because what else do you do when the power's out? And it just randomly popped up. I said it to Zach, and then sat down and I started watching it, and it is just absolutely fucking. It's like a good Adult Swim, adult animation thing. Makes you think, well done. Someone's obviously got some budget to go and do it type thing. You're like, why can't more money go to this stuff?
Ironically, it's Mike Judge who did King of the Hill, Beavis and Butthead, Office Space, and Idiocracy. Yeah. So it ties in pretty neatly. Yeah. It's brilliant. It is. Yeah. I would say it's kind of in the vein, although it's animated, as Utopia.
Yeah, very, very similar. Yeah, the thing it reminded me of was when the starting, like the first episode. Like I'm not trying to ruin the story, but the first episode is set. Part of it is set in like South America type thing. This guy's hunting around looking for mushrooms. Like he's doing an assessment of all the mushrooms in an area type thing. As a mycologist would do. And then there was something almost very Cezanne in the way that he was taught, like Cezanne, the primitivist philosopher. Was there's something very to the way it's filmed and the way it was addressing visually type thing, what the fuck was actually occurring type thing, and how connected this person was just by wandering through the landscape type thing. And it was it was brilliant. And
if you haven't,
well worth checking out.
If you haven't seen, I mean, definitely go and watch that. It's on Adult Swim right now. First 2 episodes are out. I can't wait for the rest of it. It's probably going to be way too short. It's probably only going to be like a 10 episode series.
Well, you can. Yeah, hopefully they get a couple more series out of it type thing before someone decides it's they can't talk about these things.
Oh, it's good, so it'll get cancelled. So.
Yeah, but that's the problem. It's good, so it'll get cancelled, I think it's too deep. It's far too deep for something like the Rick and Morty effect to kick in, where people watch it and think they're clever by watching it.
Yeah, there's no real way of misunderstanding what's going down. So a lot of the Rick and Morty fans were just into its anarchic side rather than analysing it or anything. I would warn you, if you're of faint heart, not to watch Utopia. You've got to be in a good place to watch that, because that's really dark.
It's fucking brilliant.
But
one of the best TV shows made.
It is incredible
in recent years.
But the British version, the 2-season British version, is the one to watch.
Yeah.
Or if you're going to watch it, it's a bit like Three Body Problem. Watch the Western version first, and then you'll be really cheered up by watching the Chinese version. If you really want to punish us, but it doesn't really work with Utopia because the American version's terrible. It's a bit like, if anybody's ever seen the American version of Red Dwarf, then you know what I mean.
Why would we break ourselves doing such a thing?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, watch the English version of Utopia. But you got to be in a good place before you watch that, because it's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I think it only, for me, it doesn't. It's not. I didn't find it terrifying.
Yeah.
I found it realistic. I found it truthful to the way that those operations are actually done. Actually, the violence actually committed.
Yeah. In the chat,
it's not,
Hindsight has said, don't forget about the movie Postal from 2007.
Hello, Hindsight, in the YouTube chat that I can't see because I only have one screen open.
But yeah, I'm trying to do the whole keep an eye on the chat thing, even though there's a bit of a delay. But it seems to be running okay at the moment. I don't know if it's crapped out. That's your job if you're in the chat. If the stream craps out, which it shouldn't, that's when you let us know. So if it's frozen or anything.
It's a 2-cat stream. It's a 2-cat stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my choices anyway. Come on. Iron Angel. Iron Angel's not working very well. DW, your choice. Come on. What have you found this week? What have you been looking at?
I had a significant emotional event last week.
Oh.
In a good way?
I think a picture says 1,000 words sort of thing, so I'll hang on.
All right. Let's enable the chat.
Thank you for making me yours. That's kind of disgusting.
Is this a weird thing where they found something on Mars?
That was last week. That was a big square last week.
Yeah.
That was where we were going to build Rangers headquarters on Mars, just to fuck with people.
Yes, let's find somewhere really terrible to live and go there. I think we should all move to Greenland and join the Defence Corps.
So very true.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Oh, that's an interesting picture. Yep, yeah, that's not supposed to look like that, by the way.
No.
We can't share this picture with the world, but I'll try and describe what's happening.
We are sharing it with the world. Are you not watching the YouTube stream?
I can't see the YouTube stream.
Yeah.
Yep. Is there are all your limbs connected? Still?
Okay. My reaction was smash the emergency stop button and take 2 steps back and watch whatever happens.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way you can do it. But the last person I know who suffered a similar fate to that went off to hospital and had a gnarly scar for the rest of their life, and no longer works in front of a lathe. I'll point out. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I am very much aware that these machines will eat you, and
without trying.
Funny happens, I'm like, fuck off.
Yeah. It's not funny. It's like funny in a it's funny in a I scared myself and wet myself kind of way. Yeah. I didn't choose to go to the bathroom right now. Way. Yep.
The good thing is I figured out what the fuck I did wrong. Okay, like, because this is one of those Chinese lathes, one of the things you have to do is take everything apart and give it a good clean, because it's full of this like black abrasive crap from the factory still.
Yeah, the polishing compound. Yep.
Maybe it's polishing compound. It's kind of chunky.
Sand, grit.
It might be cosmically with sand.
Yep.
Maybe. It might be people that the machine has already eaten before.
Yeah,
I don't know.
True.
So, if you take a look at the picture, the way that the chuck is held into the rest of the machine is those black pegs that have a semicircle cut out of them.
Yeah, which connect to the left-hand side, and then you tighten the things, and then it locks in.
Yes, and when I lock them in, there are markings on the spindle, and they didn't I couldn't turn it the right way, so I'm like, okay, they probably marked it wrong. Turn it the other way. Yeah, that works. I figured out that those pegs, although that you can screw them in all the way and then secure them with a bolt, You don't have to screw them in all the way. So
Ah.
I undid the securing bolt, unscrewed them two turns, I think, and then they went deeper into the spindle, and now I can lock them properly. Which isn't obvious if you're looking at it and you don't know what you're doing.
No.
Now I know.
Yes. Yeah. This is the bit of information you needed past the non-existent manual written in a foreign language, translated by AI.
Well, it does have it has not really a manual, more of an information booklet.
Yes.
And it is written in proper Dutch.
Oh, you're lucky.
Yes, but the thing is, there isn't all that much useful information in there. And
it doesn't have to tell you how to strip and service the machine. Yep.
No.
Insane.
And if you're wondering what I'm making, that's the next two pictures.
You're making something round on a lathe.
I am making something round on a lathe that is tapered. They're
Is it a sine bar?
No, it's timber framing alignment pins, I think they're called.
Oh.
My brother is a carpenter, or likes to, metal
Pretend.
dead tree carcasses.
Yep.
I don't know why. And he showed me a pictures of those, and you can buy them for like £50. I have a lathe, and the guy's birthday is coming up, so I have an excuse to use the damn thing.
Yeah, cool.
So I probably figured out how to turn taper on the.
That's a fun. I mean, that's a fun. I mean, your realization is that learning how to cut tapers on a lathe, especially like yeah. Yep.
Yeah, the thing is, I probably did it the slowest and stupidest way possible, but it's the taper doesn't really matter that much. It just needs to be kind of tapered and smooth.
Yep.
All right.
And on the other picture that I opened up, that I added, those are the ones that still need to be tapered. And I going to somehow put a T-handle thing on it. Haven't gotten that far in thinking of drilling a hole through it and then welding it up. Somehow, maybe.
Oh, it's all learning stuff. And you did the opposite of Elon Musk. You broke things and then moved fast.
No, I bought my own machine with my own money that I worked for to get myself. Then I spent my own money to get the raw materials and the tooling. And then I carefully moved forward. I'm not burning through daddy's money.
Yes. Your family can be proud of the thing you make, rather than your family going onto the platform that you own and telling everyone that he thinks you're a dickhead. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see why Elon Musk is broken. You can see why DW was happy this week, even though they probably scared the shit out of themselves.
Yeah. You broke a super dangerous thing and lived. Well done.
Yeah. Well done. Good job.
According to hindsight, we're still all good in the stream. Nobody's complaining yet.
Thank goodness.
So, yeah.
Oh, hang on. There's one more very, very important thing that I just remembered that I did this week. And I think I have a picture of it. That is far more important than this thing. Hang on. Do I have... maybe. Yeah, here they are. Yeah. Second picture is gonna need some explanation. It's
some blankets.
That's my fault.
No, not really. So the girl next door, known as my neighbor's cat, is an indoor-outdoor cat that has very strong opinions on when it needs to be indoors and outdoors. And next to the shed, I have a little bit of a rain cover thingy. Can't recall what it's called in English anymore. Whatever. And there's a bench there so it doesn't get wet. And I put a blanket there for the cat to sit on. And it's winter now. And one early, very freezing cold morning, the cat was sitting there. So I made it a little hidey hole with some more blankets in a cardboard box. for it to sleep nice and snug and warm in. And this morning, on the second picture, the cat was in there, but I didn't have my phone on me. So I went back inside, went back outside, and of course the cat left the box because cats are not gonna do what I think but they don't do what you want them to do. They're like, "Fuck you! You're not gonna take a picture of me in the damn box." And well, I have one of those cell phones with a thermal camera in it, so the picture-in-picture thing where it's glowing, you can see there once was a cat in the box. And that's the most important thing I've done all week.
So what you're saying is you're inheriting the neighbor's cat, like every good cat that comes along. That's how I got this fucking piece of mess behind me. I inherited it from the neighbors.
No, I'm
she was born under my house.
I thought you were going to say born under a bad sign.
Probably that too. She's born under my house. Nice. It sounds like you had an adventure this week, DW. Or multiple adventures. Some that are good, and some that are interesting, and some that are bad. But all led to learning, I imagine.
I learned that I fucked up my lathe, and now I fixed it again. That's the important one.
Well, that it was fixable.
And now you can make a video, like, you know, in like 3 languages, and then, like, you know, tell everyone else how not to do it or how to do it better, and then become famous. You know,
on a lazy Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, here is how you actually fix this thing. Don't do the thing that I did. Yep. Make less people have holes in their legs.
YouTube says we got 4 concurrent viewers. I don't know if that's any. So I'm presuming one of those is Iron Angel.
Why, yes, indeed.
Speaking of Iron Angel, did you have anything to bring to the weekly roundup this week, Iron Angel?
My week, well, today is fixing broken stuff.
Nice.
I finally found my camera, so I'll actually be able to start shooting. But this week has been pretty goddamn mind-breakingly useless. I am going through and collecting together for the lawsuit the value of goods destroyed in the fire.
Oh, shit, yeah.
I have done the lower floor without the line shaft equipment, without the forges, and we're at $63,000.
Yay.
Now, do you want to give everyone a general guise as to how much a forge costs?
I don't know on these.
Just a rough guess about, like, if you had to, like, start again from nothing and make one again, just making one. How many? You're talking about, like, to make a coal forge, a week's work, probably, like, all in and out, welding it, getting all the steel, probably like about a week's work per forge. Yeah, like, let's say we went with like, you know, the classic, like, you know, it's 2 sheets of steel folded up on a break, then welded, you know, then you've got to build a ture. I can't say the word. Build the ture, then put the water box on. Yeah.
I didn't go that route. I went heavy and big because I do industrial stuff.
Yeah.
And so mine is 1/4-inch diamond plate, and it's beefy. It was a week of welding, and it's all, you know, it's all big, heavy stuff. It's standing on legs made out of 4-inch angle iron. It's a side draft. It's probably $2,000 just for the forge material proper.
Yeah.
And that's one of 4 that are destroyed.
Yeah.
And the forgers had no problem with the fire. It's having a building fall on top of it that's the issue.
Yep. They would have survived had the roof not caved in.
Well, had the excavator not, you know, pulled one of the main beams out and had the whole building drop on top of stuff.
So useful.
One forge is still standing and could be used as it sets. My riveting forge, I haven't even found yet. My big champion forge has a crack in it that is probably because it was hot and got hit by a hose, and that's a goddamn nightmare to fucking fix. And that's one of the big champion tables, you know, the 300-pound cast iron table.
Yep.
So we're looking at probably.
Well, it's at least 10 grand if you just replace them with like, if you just built 4 new ones of
Yeah, I mean,
various
well,
configurations.
we're looking at
There's
between 8 and 10 grand just for the 4 forges.
the forge, yeah.
Then the line shaft equipment to get an equivalent replacement. So far, I have found the next generation past my planer, and that's 17 grand. A drill press that is not as big as mine was 23 grand. A grinder that's the size of mine, but not line shaft, was 12 grand. One of my line shaft motors, I had been told was a series wound with DC converter. I finally found the motor. It is not series wound, which moves the decimal point one place over. Now it's only 7 grand as opposed to 70 grand. So
paperwork. It's an exciting bit to be. Just paperwork.
But the thing that's fucking aggravating is you have to mentally walk through and because I know where everything was.
Yeah, you have to go through the shop and then
over and over and over in your head.
Yeah, and you're always discounting the value of what it is, because like, how many pairs of tongs did you have hanging in the workshop? A couple of hundred.
I know of.
They're that you could say like, I would pick this up and use it again tomorrow if I had an option type thing. Like I could say how many are in my toolbox now, and I must
27.
have 27. Yeah.
Because I actually had a list of new tongs that needed to be made.
Yeah.
That were spurs off from. I had a notebook here at the house that listed all the tongs that I had and tongs that needed to be made off from which patterns.
Yeah.
Like I had bar tongs for holding bar stock.
Yeah.
And I needed to make one that was 2 inches wide because the one I had was 1 1/4 inches wide. And I also needed to make a 1 inch wide one because obviously loose is bad.
Yeah.
So there's been a whole lot of, I actually have exact numbers on a bunch of stuff. The problem is, where the fuck do you get these? Trying to come up with
you can't get them because you have to make them yourself, because that's how all the shit's made.
Correct. And
the only thing I can think in Australia that you could go out and buy tomorrow would be, you might be able to score an anvil. The anvil wouldn't be made in Australia, because I don't think they're still making anvils up in Queensland.
Oh, can you imagine shipping anvils in quantity to Australia?
That's how it works. Every single anvil that comes out of Australia basically comes out. They come out of North America, or they come out of Northern Europe.
That's up there with the Welsh dudes that were quarrying the stone for Stonehenge. Sort of like, and they're getting a quote. It's 4 gold pieces per stone, and they went, well, that's very reasonable. Yeah. And the Welsh guy goes, well, delivery's a bitch though.
Yeah, no, I can literally point to buildings in Sydney that have Welsh slate on their roofs, and when we rebuilt those buildings in Sydney, we got the Welsh slate out of the same fucking plot, like out of the same fucking area. We got multiple deliveries of Welsh slate out of to redo those roofs, like 175 years later. Because I know where the fuck, and all of the used slate came off the roof and is now sitting in the fucking stone pot in the boneyard up at Public Works in Sydney. Yeah.
I've been to a slate quarry. That's a terrifying place to visit.
A few pieces. We all helped ourselves to a few bits that came off of the roof. We all helped ourselves to a couple of slates that came out of the box, that came from Wales, new. Everyone was very excited.
There's an interesting thing that I have a place manufacturing anvils about 60 kilometers south of me.
Yep.
That are equivalent to Petting House or Riffling House anvils.
Mm-hmm.
My Peter Wright I priced out, and I sent them a message, and they went, we can replace it for $4 grand, but that anvil's worth more.
Yeah.
Because it's a Peter Wright with known province. We know when
where and when it was made, and then it becomes a valuable object in and of itself, because it is that old, and it's a fucking. They essentially become antiques, which means they. Well,
it's not even antiques. It's basically, you now have a piece of antique machine tool.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, you should write down 50 grand for that, and I haven't found that fucker. And that's the fucking anvil that broke my back. So I want that fucker back, even if the temper's shot on it. I want that fucker back.
Well, and the thing is you might be able to. Like, it's gotten hot and then it's got cold, but if you could get it, if you could just find something that's got a big enough gas furnace to get into, you could probably get it back to a state which you could heat it up, let it cool down slowly, and then. But then you could also hard face the fuck out of it with because you can hard face them with standard MIG rods.
Remember, 60 kilometers south of me, there's an anvil manufacturer.
So that you can get the thing resurfaced.
I can have it reheat treated for about 1,500.
Yeah. So
and at that point, you know, you fuckers are paying for that too because you caused this.
Yeah.
You definitely, if you made anvils, you'd have to see if Acme anvils was available. You'd have to.
They are not.
No, they're not. Someone owns the thing. Or you can't buy. Acme actually exists as a company in America.
Yes.
And they're really fucking strict about people using it. Yeah. I googled this years ago.
I'm sure it stands for something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's just
a good question. I don't know.
Well, I think it was the company before, like, who was it Warner Brothers? Looney Tunes. Is that Warner Brothers?
Yeah.
Before they, like, I think it was actually I think it was like a fucking, like, you know, I think it was like the J.C. Penney of. Oh, it's not J.C. Penney. I'm trying to think of like a McMaster's of that time. Appeared,
At that time, it was Sears. Sears basically was the catalog. They were the Amazon of that day.
But they're the catalog of like everything in them. But I think that Acme was actually a company, like going back to that point, and then they jokingly put in and they sort of asked the company, can we put Acme on the side of the fucking whatever? And it became a standing joke within it that it was actually like real machine shop stuff.
Well, interesting.
Actually made shit.
We can do a thing. Interestingly enough, Sears sold buildings as well early on, where you could actually have flat pack buildings delivered. I've seen one of the Sears corrugated.
Sears.
Yeah, but I've seen one of the Sears churches. They used to send out chapels to little towns, and you just like Amish styley build it, and it'd seat about 50 people. So that tells you how small a settlement it'd have to be in. But there's a place called Ravencroft in England that's actually a buildings museum. It's on about 20 acres, and they collect buildings. So when you've got a listed building, sometimes you can make an arrangement for Ravencroft to actually take it in. So they've got 17th century houses that were all wattle door panels that they carefully took apart and reassembled, and they've got one of these churches. There's little chapels there, which is really interesting. They've also got a really big collection of telephone boxes for some reason. One of their main japes is they've actually got a police telephone box, like in Doctor Who, and they've got these one-way mirrors in the control room where they've got all the exchange equipment, and they wait for someone to tentatively open up the box. There's a little box on the front of them that actually had a telephone in it, and you open it up and go, oh, that's very Doctor Who, and then you close it, and then they ring it, which makes you shit yourself. And then you see them all, they sort of tap on the glass and say, come in. They got like, you know, a little telephone exchange in there where all the telephone boxes are all actually wired up.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing about Sears, I've just got to say this quickly while we're kind of on topic, is in the background of the painting American Gothic, that's a Sears flat pack house.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's not called American Gothic because of the two people at the front. That's actually the style of the Sears house. Because it's got a little pointy Gothic window, and that's why the painting's called American Gothic.
Okay, there's actually a couple things about that make it specifically Gothic. It's also the vertical siding. That standing board on the side is one of the key features. The roof angle, the window, those verticals are the key features of what made that the American Gothic model. Because it was a Gothic revival.
Yeah.
My stupid, I can't remember the name of the damn book, and I'm sitting down with a laptop in my lap, so I can't go get it. My stupid thing for the week is actually a book about American houses.
Wow.
I'll have to run and grab it. Phoenix has been doing tremendous amounts of house research, trying to figure out where this thing came from. We're fairly sure it's a pattern book house. So you had Sears, you had Gordon Van Tyne, based out of Grand Rapids. Grand Rapids was a huge furniture manufacturing area. They at one point they had the first 1 million square foot building in the world, and it made desk chairs, and sofas.
Yeah, there
was
a report
come
out. Yeah, there's a report come out about 2 weeks ago on More Perfect Union talking about the furniture manufacturer out of
that
that
thing
area.
Right there came out of that building.
Nice.
Yeah.
That 1 million square foot building.
Yep.
And that was the cheap, low end model at the time, and it's way better than anything made now.
Yeah. Definitely.
So down the road was a company called Gordon Van Tyne, and roughly a third of the I have a Sears house is actually a Van Tyne or another company whose name escapes me at the moment.
Yeah, because they're all built under license by a couple of companies in that area. And then they're
Not
all,
even that.
Yeah.
The deal is there were a couple of designers that got bounced around. There were really famous designers that basically, we hired them away from Gordon Van Tyne. Now they make Sears houses, which were master built. Sears was master built. And this other company in Flint, whose name escapes me, and there was a company in Ohio that did houses as well. But Gordon Van Tyne actually has more houses than Sears put out.
Right.
It's just that people don't realize it. So, I cannot remember what the name of that book is. I will have to go get it.
I gotta remember now.
It's a great volume to actually go through and learn a whole lot about.
Yeah.
Not only what makes a house what it is, why is it this style. Every one of those has an engineered reason. Those houses all exist the way they do for a reason, and that's where things get interesting.
Zach mentioned museums, random museums. I've got to remember that the guy who does Look Mum No Computer, I can't think what his name is. He's down in Brighton, and they have the collective of them has set up a museum. And if anyone is or can make it down to Brighton, you can go and play with the church organ in the museum. It's fucking amazing. I don't know when it's open, but you go on Google Look Mum No Computer. There's he has like one of the best collections of synthesizers, come electronic music equipment, come church organs, come everything else possible type thing in the UK. And you can basically for a couple of pound donation, gold coin donation, go wander around and fucking touch shit. And there are people there explaining stuff, and you can go and fiddle.
I've been hearing a rumor that he may end up with one of the earlier versions of Winter Garden's marble machines. Do you know about that?
It doesn't surprise me, because this is like how he ended up with the church organ type thing, because no one wants his shit and they all want it got rid of, and no one sees it as being valuable yet. Like, his collection will end up being picked up by like fucking National Trust or someone or other, given another 20 years if we all fucking survive that long, because I'm thinking to the basement in the Melbourne Museum, right? The first Australian-made computer, so the first Australian-made actual computing device that you can call a computer up after a fucking human being did it type thing, is in the basement of the Melbourne Museum, right? And it's in a fucking locked cabinet, and you can walk up to it and walk all the way around it type thing. Now, if you're me, then you spend a good hour downstairs with your daughter when she's 9 months old, pushing her around in a circle type thing, looking at it, and no one else walks up to this device or is remotely interested in it type thing. And you're like, what the fuck is wrong with humanity that no one understands just how fucking important this fucking machine is in terms of the history of Australia, like having computers and then making computers, and then like us evolving and like having a fucking CSIRO, which is the Commonwealth Science Industry Research Organisation of Australia. It's where all the fucking research money goes in Australia type thing. But that's not interesting for the average person. The average person doesn't give a shit what old computers look like. In exactly the same way as the average person isn't interested in how a fucking PCB is made. They just want to play on their phone.
Well, it is an interesting thing.
It's frustrating.
Certainly, computers are getting that treatment because currently the obsolete ones are quite cheap, relatively.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Is
even relative to what they originally cost without inflation.
Yeah.
That still you could put together a small computer museum.
People are saving these things.
Yeah.
But the same cannot be said of random other things that need to be collected, like early electronic music.
Well, they're not.
But it's starting to become. That's starting to become a thing because people are starting to make music on it. People are getting these things from old people dying. They're therefore someone selling grandpa's like collection of fucking Wurlitzers out of the fucking shed that he's just fucking died at 90 years old, whatever type thing, that he himself built. So that stuff's starting to happen, but still not. No one's putting him into a proper fucking museum and saying. But the advantage of that is because the guy from Mum No Computer is not trained and wants to make music with this stuff, it means you can go in and fucking fiddle with it. And he's pulling it apart, explaining how the fucking works, publishing the fucking details of all of the fucking manuscripts behind all this stuff, like the fucking, the weekly fucking, how do you build this thing type thing. And people are actually going back and then starting to make things out of it, which is kind of exciting and interesting because, it's more power to people making stuff. Yeah. Sorry, I had to remember that. That was mine.
No, you're good. They solved a lot of engineering in the early stuff.
Oh fuck yeah!
And we have to go because we picked up this topic before. Somebody is finally building a reproduction of that very first programmable loom, which is where all computer code ties back to the 16th. Yeah,
the Jacquard
loom. 16th fucking century.
Yeah, there's a reclaimed one. There's a reclaimed one. They rebuilt one. So it's not newly built, it's a rebuilt from the original one. There's a rebuilt one in the Derby. Yeah. It's a Derby museum because Derby was one of the places where around Derby, around those areas where a lot of the cloth was made into broadcloth in the UK. I was lucky enough to live there for a while, or near there for a while. But yeah, there's a Jacquard loom in there, and it is one of the most fucking fascinating things to go and stand there with the technician saying there's the pattern, walking over the thing, and then and you literally saying it's just a fucking it's literally just a fucking computer, and yeah.
Well, it's a computer with a very, very, very slow display.
Yeah.
Because essentially the tapestries that they got out of them are literally 20 feet across. Yeah. So it's what?
But it defies rules that it is defies logic that it is a computer because it has an input. You have cards that input like a punch tape, and then it has an output, which is a thing that you have to that's what makes a computer a computer. Is you have input, it does some process, you get an output type thing, and somewhere in between, it's just fucking interesting.
It's certainly an idea that was way ahead of its time. If you wanted to sort of prove time travel existed. Things like the Jacquard loom and the difference engine by Babbage are definitely how the fuck am I going to make a computer when all I've got is wood, string and nails? Yeah. I'm going to have to think about this.
Another thing, if you are on holidays in the UK, another place worth visiting, now we're talking about weird shit that was made.
Bletchley.
There's the Silk Museum. I don't know, I can't tell you exactly where it is. It's in the middle of the country somewhere. I want to say it's in Staffordshire, but I could be wrong. Just search up Silk Museum, and you can go wander around it, and they're still making silks there. And it's a working museum, and all the ladies that are in there are some of the most interesting people you ever find, ever. And most of them are quite young as well, which is so fucking interesting to me. They're all in their 20s, coming out of university, having done textiles courses, and now they're all working at this fucking Silk Museum type thing. It's a great little collective of people working there type thing. They have a TikTok channel, they have a YouTube channel, but if you can get around and go visit them,
for that.
Yeah, but if you can go and actually visit it type thing, it's on my list of places to go when I go back to the UK next time. I have a long list of places to go. Just drag Zach around, steal a car, drag Zach to every single fucking museum ever.
The way I stumbled into this guy, there's a guy actually building another Jacquard loom, ground up, brand new, completely original, runs on cards, all that stuff. The way I stumbled into it is so left-handed, it's not even funny. I have these weird, I'm going to search something, I look up, and this whole thing starts with different ways to build the truss system for a gambrel roof, which led me to, weirdly enough, the Malta fireworks engines, which are incredible engineering. If you've never looked into how they work, the moving fireworks, look those up. Those are wild. Which connected to this guy who's building this new loom using some of the stuff. He got one of the guys that's building the Malta engines to help him build some of the gear systems. And they're incredibly simple. Anybody can make it you can literally do this in your living room with a set of tin snips and some old cans. And it's wait a minute, all this shit ties together. And, it's the old series connections again. You know, we start somewhere back in 812, and somehow that leads to nuclear fission. So connections. I know we've discussed that series before. I don't know if it was on this.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was in. I think it was in like week 2 or week 3. Oh no, week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, we did.
Because you guys brought up there's a new one that I haven't seen yet, so I'm still pissed off about that.
Right. Next. I have a tie-in. I have a tie-in. This one was specifically. I can't find my first copy of the first book, but I found you the example copy. This one was for you, Iron Angel, because you were talking about. Writing the story, and we were talking about the good book, which is how to service and maintain a VW Beetle or Bug, a Type 1, Type 2 Beetle. I can't remember the name of the author.
Excellent volume. Yep.
Excellent fucking book. The reason why that book is so interesting is because of the illustration that is done, and he does outline in the front of the book why things are illustrated rather than lithographed, photographed, or printed in like a printed photograph. And the answer is because when you draw something, you can highlight as an artist the thing that you want the person to look at, as opposed to like a picture which is like very in an engine bay. You're like, what the fuck am I looking at? Like you have to have an arrow that points, and then it's like, am I looking at the same thing? Not fucking clear. Whereas if you drew a fucking engine, then there's another fucking example of a good book that does exactly that thing. You can sort of point at the thing that makes it work. I think. Right, here is a book. You can find this on all the good downloadable things. I suggest everything by the author. The author's name is Ron Edwards. This one is Mud Brick and Earth Building the Chinese Way. I've opened to one of the example pictures. Hopefully that's clear.
Have you got a picture of one of those roundhouses that they used to build, the tenement buildings? I think those are awesome. There's like anti-bandit tenement buildings. They're fucking incredible.
Anti-bandit tenement building. So this guy basically went and he explored. He went and got a grant, and then explored the whole of China, looking at how rammed earth mud brick was done in China, and then wrote basically a thesis on how the fuck it was done. Like, this is how you lay things. That is how mud bricks are laid when you want to lay and mud brick, and you want everyone to be able to pick up the mud brick. And he goes around and actually interviews everyone from little kids in villages to all the way up to like someone's grandparent type thing about how and why and what the process is and all the rest of it type thing. And it's just a fascinating book. The same guy, Ron Edwards, also wrote the principal history of Australian bushcraft as a thing, which I may have mentioned multiple times. But yeah, well worth checking out. And just the level of detail in sort of his drawings and what's going on. But it reminded me, we're talking weeks and weeks and weeks ago now about well-drawn books. And I was like, I have the perfect example that anyone can go and Google. You might not be interested in the topic of the book, but if you just go and Google if you go on Google it type thing and have a look at the pictures, you will see, how to illustrate a book and what's important type thing. Yeah. I can't find a picture of a roundhouse for you. Sorry, Zach.
No, it's a shame.
Mud Brick and Earth Building the Chinese Way by Ron Edwards and Lin Wei Hao. And yeah, Ron Edwards, as I say, he did Bushcraft 1 through 10. He also did Leatherworking 1 through fucking whatever number of books it is type thing. Yep. I've read that book. That was a course book for my technical training. Yep. Yeah. Yep. It's funnily enough, I found out that do you know who Adrian Legg is, Iron Angel?
Yes.
I found out that Adrian Legg is still alive. He was always very grumpy at me. I never liked him very much because he was always very fucking grumpy at me. He doesn't like autistic children, autistic adolescents, let's say. So I never got on with him very well type thing. He was always very like, oh, fucking you're a weird man. But I found out he was still alive. And then someone who I follow on social media, who's a blacksmith, he'd been over to visit Adrian. Adrian was making a poker, for a fire poker. I made a handle. And I've seen the same handle, like the same handle's been reproduced. It's the multiple, it's like 8 whipped. It's like an 8 whipped handle. And I still point out the fact that when it was made, the handle was too fucking big, because the handle needed to be shrunk into all of the weave portion needed to be made out of like quartered material, and then weaved so that it fitted inside the original thingo. And it was funny as fuck because I was like, Adrian Legg taught you how to do that, and he's still fucking doing it wrong to this day. I just fucking laughed. That was literally this morning. I was literally this fucking this morning.
Though.
I was just like, why does it still look like that when it should be like, when that handle needs to be, like if you weaved it, it'd be just like, just a hair over a quarter, maybe, a hair over a quarter larger than the diameter of the like stock bar that you were using type thing. And it's obvious, like it's a tenon, which means it's all been welded on, and then the weave's been done, and you can do the weave separately type thing if you're clever type thing. But it's like, why are they still doing it the wrong way? No one's, like the fucking handle's like you couldn't get hold of it type thing. And I'm like, no, fuck off. Industrial design, it's a thing. Yep, I shouldn't whinge. Adrian looks pretty fucking good though. He made some fucking amazing work. Yeah. Yep. There you go. So a complete sideline into like weird people that I've met in my life.
I mean, sideline is what we do, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. Yep. Yep. I will point out though that because Adrian was he was the head of studies for Hereford Blacksmith School, and he was the reason why I met Dave, and Dave was a much better teacher. Dave was an evangelical Christian. He must have retired by now. Something. He was an evangelical Christian, and part of the work he done as an evangelical Christian. What's it called when you go to another country and like look after like spread Christianity? What's that called?
Missionary work.
No. He did missionary work, but he did missionary work in Africa. And the really interesting was because he was like trained as a blacksmith, and then he went and like did missionary work. When he went to like sub-Saharan Africa, he wandered around and spoke to all the fucking blacksmiths, right? Which comical because that's what Jewish people were historically known as being blacksmiths as well, which is another fucking thing you learn later on in life. Because they were all pushed out of having any other trade, and it was seen as being the secret trade. He went and did missionary work. Dave went and did missionary work, but he came back with all of these like things that were done similarly but different because they were done in Africa. So it was like a completely, not a different way of thinking, but like you could tell the process had gone through like it had been distinct from what the process was in like the UK and Europe in terms of like, because someone writes a book and then that book becomes popular, or someone goes and does like, a meet and greet somewhere or other, and then everyone like, picks up and takes a picture or does the type thing. It's like you can see in Australian blacksmithing, you can see the work of the Everleigh train yards in terms of like how the spread of blacksmithing as a trade craft in Australia works, because most of it comes out of the teaching that was done at Everleigh train yards. The Everleigh train yards was where the Everleigh shop was where the blacksmith shop was for the whole of New South Wales rail, New South Wales being the biggest rail distributor type thing in Australia type thing. So they have one of the biggest machine shops, and that's where the majority of tooling came out of type thing. So lots of it is massive fucking power hammer. I'll find a picture somewhere and remember seeing a picture. It's fucking huge. Like you're talking like double beam, biggest one in the Southern Hemisphere up until very, very recently. Fucking huge. And all the industrial tooling then that goes with it is fucking huge. And like because of that, a certain style, shape, a certain design principle comes out of that, because that's what they're working for. They're also working with like, they're working with bits of train. Bits of train are quite large, so you need bigger tooling type things. So everything's made to a certain standard, certain size. But it's just that comparative difference of like, you find someone who's been somewhere different. You go, oh, that's completely different. Where does that come from? Why does it look different? How does it function different? Why does it look so much more interesting to my eye than this thing that I've seen 100 times before? You can see how Adrian and what the British Irish Blacksmith Association, how that what's the word? The catalogue of like how they make things and how they do things becomes one way of doing it. And then there's a different way of doing it in Australia, because the Australian way of doing it is based around a whole bunch of other people coming to other countries coming here and then making something for an industrial line. And that becomes a different format of doing what you're doing type thing. I often see it with, there's a guy who teaches blacksmithing in Australia. I won't dox him. He's absolutely fucking. There's two people who teach blacksmithing in Australia who are absolutely wonderful. They work together at your Ultimo. They work together at SIT, which is Sydney Institute of TAFE at Ultimo, at the Ultimo campus. If you come to Australia to learn blacksmithing, they are the two people who will teach it to you. One of them used to work for Everleigh. The other one is he works as an electrician, but he does a sideline gig as a blacksmith teacher, because that's what he's interested in. So, like, his hobby passion is blacksmithing. But I will never forget his description of forming the eye and what the eye should look like on every set of tongs you ever make. And like they've actually gone and tested like where to make a set of eye and what the eye should look like type thing. And every time I see somebody make a set of tongs the Hereford way, now I look at it and say, that's fucking wrong. Because an eye on a set of tongs should look like the eye of an Egyptian queen, because it's the strongest way you can ever form an eye. That is the perfect. If you literally drew an Egyptian eye from fucking hieroglyphics on, that is what a fucking eye should look like according to Australian standard blacksmithing doctrine. And it fucking works. You will never get a stronger eye out of it. You could probably build a stronger eye. You could certainly make one type thing. But in terms of like it looking right, it looking balanced, and it being a thing, you will not get it. You will not get better. And they come in different sizes, obviously. Big fucking thing, small fucking thing, different fucking shaped eye. But it's bizarre because now I have a German die stamp that makes that thing happen, sitting in the shed. Because when I went to TAFE school, when I went to industrial school in Australia, we did industrial blacksmithing, and one of the things we made was German dies, and the German dies were made to make tongs. So when you go back to earlier conversation, you were saying about replacing all your tongs. I'm like, I have a fucking German die sitting in the shed. If only I could fucking ship it to you. You could black them out like you could work them out like 10 seconds. Put them on a power hammer. You probably got someone who's got a power hammer big enough to throw one, and you just go doof 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 doof, and it's done. It's wonderful. Yeah. But it took me a week. Yeah, it took me a week and a half to make the first German die to make one, and we made two at the same time. Yeah. So there you go. Anyway, that was we did a sideline. Keep talking about blacksmithing and jackknife looms and everything else. But yeah, there you go. Well written books with really good pictures in them. Yeah, that's what struck me, and it's been bugging me for weeks. It was on my show notes for like fucking week 2. Was well written books with things. So yeah, we've got that one done. Yeah,
let's be honest though, we're basically a sideline with a show attached. So.
Yeah,
very true.
The best way.
We are a sideline with a show attached. The best way.
You won't get to watch this on television. Everything's timed down to the last second.
Yeah, and bad because of it. Yep, and bad because of it.
Yeah. I wonder whether we should maybe collect together, if anybody's got the time, collect together some of the trailers for or images of bits of art, or trailers for a short snippet of something, so you can just sort of like show it. Because it is we are doing it for the purposes of review, so we can get away with quite a bit.
Yeah.
And also now Tao, no one wants to watch.
Yeah. It's true. No, we could try and work that one out. Yeah.
Has anybody got anything they want to bring?
It must be your turn, Zach.
All right. I'm going to go for the... Now, obviously, when you're in a relationship, quite a lot of women that read Jane Austen, right? If women that read novels will have read Jane Austen and got really into the whole, and the Bronte sisters and stuff like that.
Yeah,
now,
more generally, the Bronte sisters.
If you want to read Jane Austen, the action novel, look no further than the work of Patrick O'Brian. Because although he wasn't a terrifically likable human being, he never did anything truly evil. He was just very grumpy, because I think all he really wanted to do was write these historical novels. And he wrote a novel called Master and Commander, which was partially made into a movie. Now, I really love that film. And it's one of the rare occasions where somebody's made a film that's different from the book, and I'm still okay with it because they put so much effort into making it. It is, quite frankly, one of the best depictions of naval warfare in the Regency period that there is, bar none. It's absolutely fantastic. It looks great. They are completely different from the books, but the books are awesome. There's about 23, 25 of them. And if you start with the first one, Master and Commander, literally by the end of reading 2 of Patrick O'Brian's books, you could probably do every job on a man of war outside of the ship's carpenter and blacksmith. It literally is that detailed, but with action scenes. So it's like a highly upgraded Sharp, but set at sea. It's a very good description.
There's not much substance to Sharp, really. Like Sharp's a good old adventure. And I think I can't count the number of people who've seen Sharp that are interested in firing a Baker rifle. But there's not the depth in terms of like what we talked about, is there, type thing.
Literally, read 2 Patrick O'Brian books and you could probably, as they used to say about an able seaman, hand reef and steer. As in, you can basically reef sails, as in fold them back up and let them down. You can hand a rope and turn a capstan, and you can steer the boat, which is the least important job almost on a boat. It's one of the easiest jobs. You can train anybody to steer the boat. You can't train everybody to tack or, you know, raise a mainsail or drop a mainsail or do any of the rope adjustments. That's the tricky bit. Steering.
So it's Little House on the Prairie on the water.
Kinda, yeah. They literally tell you how to do everything and what the life was like. To which the answer is terrible. Don't do it.
Don't. Let's not reproduce that.
It's deeply crap. I'm going to take this opportunity to say hello to Avagdu, who's in the chat, who said, "Sup, ninjas." So, yeah. So thank you for joining us. With our...
having when I about 5 moves ago. Fuck, I move too often. About 5 moves ago, I sat down and listened to Master and Commander on audiobook on my headphones whilst I was packing up the shed.
It is kind of awesome.
And it is absolutely.
They're all available as audiobooks as well.
I eventually had to, like, you know, sort of give up for the night and say I'm just going to listen to the fucking audiobook because it was like too interesting an audiobook to pack to. Yeah. Yep. No. But and weirdly, it's one of those things that you find, like, there are millions of copies of all of the 20 odd books there are. Like, they all fucking exist as recycled paperbacks somewhere. Like, and they're pennies. Like, they cost nothing type thing.
Yeah, even new, they cost very little from Amazon or something like that, or wherever you purloin media, because I don't think Patrick O'Brien's alive anymore. So
no,
and
if he was, he'd still be writing fucking books.
Yeah, making Master and Commander really cost a lot of money, and I think Russell Crowe does a brilliant job, but that's because he was also a fan of the books. So he does quite a good job of being Jack Aubrey, the main character.
Yeah.
And
it's quite a fascinating film. Like, even though it's different from the book, it's quite a fascinating film, even in the presentation of what was going on. In that, I still posit the thing that, like, I don't think you could make. It's one of those films that I don't think we would make now. I don't think we could make it now, type thing.
No.
You know, I think you might be able to get away with it just if you went to New Zealand and got. I'm going to fuck up his name. I can't say it. Fuck you. The person who did when we are the Shadows. What's that person's name? You're a fucking filmmaker.
Yeah, you mean is it Taika Waititi?
That Taika Waititi is the person I'm thinking of. He then subsequently made another thing about pirates.
Man, can't hear what you're saying.
He's moving around the house, being quiet. The small person is asleep. Yes, the small person is. I know exactly what's going on. But you're moving out of earshot of the small person. I know exactly what's happening. Don't wake the baby. You must not wake the child ever. It is not worth it. My body double's here. Got more hair than me now, though. Fucker.
Well, there was a time in Rangers where it looked like a game of Guess Who. So the one with glasses and a beard and long hair.
It was
the one with glasses and a beard and short hair. The one with no beard, no glasses, long hair.
Yep.
You could play a really bizarre game of Guess Who. It's like who is the most capable person? The person that looks like most capable of building a nuclear reactor in their backyard, and then you just knock a couple down, and let's go. This person could probably wreak havoc almost anywhere where you drop them. It's like,
I watched that documentary with Tilda the other week. Actually, she was fascinated. She was all up for, like, doing it type thing. Yeah, I did remind her that, you know, the person did get in trouble at the end of the thing, and that they didn't get to live in the house very long because they had to, like, you know, something went wrong.
The Nuclear Boy Scout.
The Nuclear Boy Scout, yeah, because they made a documentary of it.
Yeah,
I don't know when. It was maybe the mid-90s.
Well, you know, we watched my recommendation.
Sat down and watched it.
The feral historian from YouTube. Okay, he actually knew that guy. They went to the same school. He was like a year older, and he said it was exactly like that. There was nothing on television when he was growing up, really, that he wanted to watch. So they all got into chemistry and nuclear physics and engineering and making gunpowder and all sorts of crazy shit. He said it was a bit of a scene. You know, who could actually potentially cause the most havoc.
Yeah, who
in an afternoon.
The last one for sort of, like, you know, for like what's going on. Yeah,
and that kid that built the nuclear reactor that was dicking about with all the sort of like uranium and stuff, nobody knew until he really kept it to himself.
Yeah.
After being interested in nuclear physics, they went, "Oh, that's a weird thing to be into," and
yeah, not really. It's nuclear physics. It's interesting.
Hmm.
You know, you get a book about it. It's like one of the most fascinating books you're ever going to read.
Oh yeah,
in terms of like the process. Yeah, yep.
Like the time I knew someone that was actually putting together a cheap MRI machine for developing countries and stuff that you could like assemble there. And he said, "Oh yeah, I was responsible for the timing circuit." And I just went, "What? You mean the tricky bit of a nuclear weapon?"
Yeah.
Whatever do you mean? I said, "Well, you've got to get all the timing of all the detonators running exactly right, which means some very careful trimming of wires, so they all go off at the same instant. And then you build a metal sphere connected to all that shit, and then you put something fissile in it, and it goes kaboom in a very Einsteinian way." And he looked really horrified. I don't know if they finished that project because, you know, this, like, he literally said that, and I went, "Oh," like almost immediately. I said, "You mean the tricky bit of a nuclear weapon?" He looked really pissed off.
You know, fun weekend project.
Yeah.
Where else you going with, like, you know, with shit you can build? There's only one way to go. You either go forwards or you go backwards. There's only two options. You either start building Watland Daub houses and, like, you know, trying to live a rural life in 16th poverty, or you or we start building sort of Viking longships, or you try and spur on the nuclear age.
Yeah,
there's only two places to go.
It's a side effect of having thumbs and the ability to read.
Yeah, the side effect of being a tool user.
Yeah. I used to say that at job interviews. What can you do? Anything. I can build you a computer, or I could build you a spaceship. It's down to your time, money, and resources.
Yeah, which one?
I'm
do you
a
want to
human.
Do?
You know.
Yep.
That's why my favourite quote from The Wire is, "What's the most dangerous person in America?" And the guy looks at this black guy and goes, "What?" He goes, "A black man with a library card."
Yeah. Yep. The Wire, good TV show. Well worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Yep. I'm sure everyone he has, but yeah, for people viewing, The Wire is.
I resisted watching it for a long time because everybody went on and on about it, and then I finally sat down and watched it, and it was awesome. I must watch it again.
I think you finished watching it, then you told me about it, and then I just jumped straight into it. And it's one of the best bits of fucking. It's absolutely fucking fascinating. It's not happy. Like there's no happiness the whole way through. It's fuck the whole way. Like the story itself is just fuck the whole way through. There's an anti-hero upon anti-hero. But in terms of understanding the American psyche, it's like, fuck, this is fascinating. Absolutely fucking fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I'd say The Blacklist is kind of like The Wire because it doesn't end on an up note all that often. But there's way too much of The Blacklist. There's like 10 seasons. Yeah. Back when a season was 22 episodes. You know, in the dim and distant when TV was made, as opposed to sort of like fluffed out. Oh, you wait! We're going to get completely AI created TV soon.
Oh yeah, but I don't know.
I know
someone will try and make money out of it. That'll be shit.
For about it will be a thing for about until somebody's spent $10 million and the first review comes in.
Yeah,
and people will hate it.
George Orwell warned about this in 1984, and nobody bothers to actually read the entire fucking book. They read the first chapter and go, "This is a great idea. Let's do this."
Yeah. It's not a manual.
We already know how this ends.
Yes.
It's not a how-to book.
What's the film that stars John Travolta as the president of the US, and they use AI to, it's not AI, but they use like film shit to pretend invade like somewhere in the Balkan states.
It's called Wag the Dog.
There you go. That's a fucking interesting film.
This is one of the few things I'm actually good at.
Shut up, you're good at lots of things.
But basically, this is because my sister is dyslexic, and she will poorly describe every single movie she tries to describe to me. So you can put two bits of data together, and I will make a line to that film because I've had to growing up.
Yeah,
because she's so obtuse. She said Quadrophenia was about a boy that works in a hotel.
He does.
At no point did she say mods, The Who, scooters.
That's not important.
It's about a guy that works at a hotel. Well, that's technically true. But if she was describing Star Wars,
and if you wanted the next piece of information, it's set in Brighton.
Yeah.
But it's a beach somewhere in the it's a beach somewhere pretty in the UK.
Yeah,
so
but
that's enough
to her, Star
Wars
Wars would be about a sad boy growing up on a farm.
Yeah.
I shit you not. She would not mention spaceships, Darth Vader, like any one other word. So when she describes a film, I'm just like, one more piece of data. Come on, just one small thing. Who's in it? And I can start eliminating it now. But you have to like disconnect your frontal lobe and then have her say such and such, and you'll be like, you mean that? Which is nothing like you described. Because I watched a load of movies, it's just one of those things that's just absolutely frustrating. It's like she cannot describe a movie or a TV show with any of the main components where you could actually have a chance of guessing it. And if you haven't watched it now, my childhood with my younger sister was like the bit in The Boat That Rocked where they play charades. And they're playing charades and he gets teamed with Thick Kevin. And he goes, why do they call him Thick Kevin? And he goes, okay, you're going to play charades now with him. And he goes, okay. And he gets the card and he looks at it for a minute and he goes, really nice guy. Got lots of friends. And the guy looks at him and goes, it doesn't want to be Jesus. He goes, it's Jesus. He goes, why didn't you say the Son of God? Anything. And it's just like that. It's like, that was it. It was like, it was such a relief that somebody else had at some point that kind of experience. It wasn't just me. I spend a lot of my life going through the world like, is it just me? That's why I know all you people. You're the only people that go, no, that's completely normal. That's fine. So Avagdu has his mic on. So have you brought anything to the class?
Is it coming through?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you. It's all good.
All right. Sweet.
You look like you're in your shed.
Yeah, this is one of the only houses in town that has a basement.
Oh.
Joy.
Yeah.
So we're going to Oz. You're going to Oz soon.
What?
With the definition of going to Oz, don't you have to go into the basement and then get knocked out and then like you end up in Oz? Isn't that wearing red shoes?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have some red Converse? Can we send you red Converse like, in the mail?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Australia.
That's the same place.
Zardoz.
Haven't you worked that out?
That's a film everybody should watch.
Is that how I get there?
You genuinely need a what the fuck did I just watch moment? Zardoz.
I have someone who's now old enough that they can childmind for you, so we can go and have fun too. I have a 13-year-old who will mind your child for you. You know, it's all good. She's up for babysitting. I'm not suggesting this is not going to be like not insufferably dangerous. They will end up making nuclear weapons in the backyard, but it's good.
Yeah. Babysitting infants, though.
Yeah, she's got a how old's her nephew? 3? She's got a 3-year-old she's been minding for like 3 years now since she was 10, so she's pretty good at it.
Okay.
Yeah, she's fully qualified. Yep. She's about as loony as her father, though. It's a problem.
Yeah, so he's 6 months and a few days old now.
Best age.
Oh, congratulations.
That's when you walk around in a supermarket with them in a papoose and going, when the world ends, my child, we shall eat these useless people. That's why I'm not allowed to look after many babies, but the babies really love it. And we shall mow them down. Sort the wheat from the chaff, tiny child.
For the first time today.
Sorry, what? For the first time?
Oh, yeah, we normally don't take him to the grocery store, but we did today.
Awesome. I bet you really enjoyed it.
Yeah, he was pretty chill.
And now you've got to teach him to shoplift.
Yeah, overstimulated, needs to be learning how to like steal things.
You can get away with it if they're that small.
Yeah.
Walk past some expensive shit, wait for their little hands to go out.
Tuck it into the papoose.
Mm.
Walk out the front. Just direct them at the expensive things.
What? Yeah, the most expensive things are his formula and his diapers.
True.
Oh, never make formula up at 4 a.m.
Oh, here we go. I've got some. I can directly relate my next media to this one. Then I have some books for you, Avagdu. You must read these books. They're very, very good. We have John Holt's How Children Fail. There's also How Children Learn by John Holt. Not very thick, very, very easy to read, right?
Yeah.
Quintessential. And we also have, in this along the same vein, I bought 2 this week. I have Dumbing Us Down by John Taylor Gatto. Again, not very thick, very, very easy read, right? The perfect excuse for homeschooling. They're my homeschooling books. They're still on the register. Whenever you ask me about homeschooling, I'm like, oh, have you read John Holt? And they go, what? And I'm like, have you read John Taylor Gatto? Like, no. Have you read Ivan Illich? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, there's only the 3 people you need to read to like know about homeschooling. It's every understanding of homeschooling comes out of studies that were done like in the 60s and 70s by like these 3 guys talking about their existence or what they've done at work. And yeah, it's very, very like sharp and to the point because they're like, they're puffin books essentially. John Taylor Gatto, very, very political. John Holt, very much working out like how the system falls apart. And then Ivan Illich with unschooling was how you actually do it, like what the process is for doing it type thing. But yeah, there you go. There's my advisal for things. But it was about the process. It's interesting going back and reading it as an adult and then realizing what you were subjected, the machinations of the Prussian like oppressive fucking system you were put through as a child, and they're working. I survived that, and the world views us as being broken as a collective group. We would be viewed as being broken because we can build a nuclear reactor, or play with a lathe, or wonder why Watland Orb is the best fucking building society, or read a book about building a fucking house, or have a conversation about blacksmithing, and it's interesting to us, and that is a result of having failed the Prussian education system of schooling. And the Prussian education system of schooling is like the universal one that exists around the world type thing. Yeah, I can blame my great uncle for my interest in education because he was a school teacher and he wrote the history of the labour movement and education in the UK. There you go. His name was Reg. He was fucking wonderful. I only ever knew him by letter. He used to write me letters when I was like a teenager, and I would write back this random fucking thing that's like out of this century. It's like, what the fuck? Someone's writing me a letter in like an age of email. Like email already existed, and he was writing me fucking like letters. It's fascinating. But yeah, yep. But yeah, well worth reading. How Children Fail, How Children Learn by John Holt. Dumbing Us Down by John Taylor Gatto. There's a bunch of interviews by John Taylor Gatto on YouTube as well. Well worth listening to.
Yeah,
they're both dead now. And Ivan Illich, I don't know of a recording of what he sounded like or who he was type thing, but he wrote a bunch of very, very interesting books. But yeah, I don't think it's Radical Unschooling. I think it's just Unschooling is the book. Yeah, well worth a read. And then none of them are very long. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I think I've heard of the John Taylor Gatto guy before.
Yeah, we probably mentioned him like a decade ago, 2 decades ago.
I'd love to be a school teacher.
I knew about.
I'd love to be a school teacher if I could just do what I want.
The problem is you can't do what you want. Every single school teacher I know is absolute. Like the problem is not school teachers. The problem is the establishment of the education system. That's the fundamental flaw in the whole thing, because schooling is not about educating children in any way, shape, or form. It is about producing. What's the
workers?
Book? Brave New World.
Yeah.
No, Brave New World. Like it's about producing the alpha, the beta, the gamma, the delta. That's what it. That's what Prussian schooling does. That's the whole premise of it. Something. That's why Brave New World was written. That's what he was fucking talking about in that book. When you go to that bit of the book, it's not talking about like poisoning babies in their bottles. We already got to that part. We already do that thing. Go back to The Wire. We're already poisoning babies at childhood type thing to do this fucking thing. But schooling is literally about just stratifying people and then working out what the fuck that's broken with.
I don't.
I wish you could find.
I don't think Avagdu's Littlin is in any danger of not being at least partially homeschooled. I think that's a given.
Yep.
But I imagine something along the lines of Ali Ermey in Full Metal Jacket. Not the initial bit, but when he's sort of going, does anybody know who, Lee Harvey Oswald was? And he goes through all these Marines that did mass killings. And he goes, right, so now you know there is nothing that can't be achieved by a Marine and a rifle.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah. So I mean that's definitely the ideal situation. It has been discussed, so we'll see what ends up happening. But it's probably either going to be homeschooling or tutoring or something like that.
Yeah. Well, they all tie in. Like homeschooling is not. It's not. it's done better in interesting groups, let's say.
I tell you what, though, if you do a certain amount of homeschooling, like your child can read before they're 5, it's got an interest in stuff, it can take things apart and put things back together. You're like in that sort of place, and then just for a laugh, put them in the school system for a couple of weeks. You know, just see what happens. What a dangerous tiny human you'll be foisting on your local school. It's got
they don't last very long. I can speak by experience.
I can just hear it now.
My daughter has tried school twice. She did not last.
Yeah.
Because
Daddy,
what the fuck are you people doing?
It made me think of performing a school shooting. You don't have to go back there, son. We were just fucking with you.
This is basically describing my growing up. So yeah.
Yep.
When I was a kid, I got put.
It was good in the olden days because like you used to be able to like if you were halfway clever, well, if you were like halfway competent as a child, they didn't give a shit if you missed school. Like you could sort of like turn up whenever you wanted to type thing. But now, like they give a shit that you don't turn up, so it's fucked. Because
I got put in
why the fuck
in a special ed class for about a week. Because obviously they go, oh, you have to go to the special class, and it's like all these kids with learning disabilities and stuff, and I'm sitting there and I'm going like, okay, well this is a little bit more chill. I don't have to do anything other than play with plasticine. And then about a week and a half later, my mum did that. What did you do at school today? And I said, oh, we played with plasticine and we read these really weird books with very large print. And she went, what? Oh yeah, we had to go into a special school with some of the special class with some of the slower kids. And she went, why? I don't know. They just told me to go in there. And basically, my mum went in and went, is Zachary in a remedial class or something? And they went, yes. He wasn't showing much interest in reading. And my mum went, this is the days when you had a library ticket per book that you could take out, little cardboard ones. And she went, he has 9 library tickets and he's allowed to get adult books out by special permission of us. He reads 9 books a week. And they were
you wonder why.
And he's in a remedial class because I think the Peter and Jane books are a little below his reading age.
Yeah.
That was just really funny. Just nobody said anything. And suddenly you're in the learning assistance class and you're just... Well, I just didn't question anything when I was young, because when you're that small, if you ask why things are, people get really pissed off because there's a whole bunch of shit nobody bothers to explain to you.
Yeah, but also there's a bunch of shit in that circumstance where the answer is bullshit. That's the answer. When you get to past the why, and if you're honest with kids, you would say because it's bullshit and because we're stuck in this system type thing. But they don't. They refuse to say that. I can attest to this because. So my daughter couldn't read before she went to school. We kept her out of school for the extra year. So you can go to school when you're 5 or you can go to school when you're 6 in Australia and start school type thing. So she started when she was 6. The only reason why she started was her best friend at that age was going to school. So she went along to the little village school that was 2 schools away. So we took her to the little village school. And it annoyed the piss out of her because she'd get the readers every week, and the readers were Peter and Jane books. And she's like, I'm not reading this. And I'm like, I don't expect you to. Go get Winnie the Pooh and read me that. Or go get this and read me that. Go get fucking Wizard of Oz, read me that. Whatever the fuck you want to read, go read. You can read it to me type thing. You're 6, you can read anything. Right? And then she'd go to school. And one of the biggest hair-bringers she had going to school was the fact she would go to school, and then the teacher would tell her off because she hadn't done the fucking reader. And it's like, but I read this other book. And they're like, no, you have to read the reader. And it's like, And I remember going in and seeing the headmistress and saying, stop fucking ruining her day. Stop fucking... When you say, what did you read? Did you read your reader? Then I'll put her fucking book in. You can assess whether or not she can actually fucking read it. If you think I'm fucking lying, she can bring the book to you to school. I've got enough copies of the fucking book at home. It's fine. And she's like... And the teacher was like, no, we have to make sure. They have to start at level 0 readers and then go to level 1 readers and then go to level 2.
Yeah.
It's like, she's not going to do that. Fuck off. She's not going to do that. I'm not going to force my child to come home and hate me and read this fucking book for you, because that's not even there's no value in what you're fucking talking about. She was reading those books when, she was reading those stories. I was reading those stories to her when she was learning how to read. She doesn't need that story anymore. She can now read a fucking book. So just let her read a fucking book.
Oh, yeah.
We actually, weirdly enough, we face the same thing. My son is like, one of my sons, the eldest son, is like highly dyslexic, like really, really struggled with dyslexia type thing, and especially with learning how to read, to the point where like he could not read until he was 8 or 9. No, older than that. 9. Tilda was born. Tilda was born with 6, so he would have been 9 when he properly learned how to actually functionally read type thing as a thing. And we took him. He was homeschooled. We took him to remedial like English classes with a like trained like fucking educator, who was absolutely fucking wonderful. But as soon as he got past reading Jane and Peter books, he was like, well, now I want to read like this book and that book and da da da. It's like fine, then fucking read them type thing. But what fascinated me was when he started reading Winnie the Pooh, and he was absolutely fascinated with the wordplay that occurs within Winnie the Pooh, because it's just they're nonsense books. But that was what was so interesting for him, because he'd read them with us, like we'd read them to him, and then his brother probably read them to him too, because his brother used to read them all the fucking time. They're twins. But he then wanted to play with those words himself and learn those, like, and then go through the process himself. And this fucking reading tutor was like, no, you shouldn't be allowing to read that. Read Winnie the Pooh, like, the whole of, like, 100 Acre Woods. Now you are 6 or whatever the book. Now you are 5, whatever the book is.
When we were very young.
Now we're 6. Yeah, we're very young. Winnie the Pooh, The House at Pooh Corner, and he went through all of them type thing. And it's like, if you can read that, you can fucking read anything, mate. Like, you might not read at like the level to read everything you ever want to read right now, but you'll get there. Like once you can read that stuff, you can get anywhere type thing with reading. But the weird thing is that this fucking English teacher, he was like, just remedial English teacher outside of a school, was like, no, you shouldn't teach him, you shouldn't give him those to read because the wordplay in them is like too difficult to comprehend. And it's like, if he wants to understand this as a thing, if he wants to go and read the Jabberwocky, right, and Lewis Carroll,
don't ever read that.
What the fuck is going on in the story? But no, you do want to read that, because if you can read that and you can glean what the fuck is happening and what's understanding something, and it is gibberish, but it's not gibberish. If you have an understanding of what's going on within the prose of what the fuck is happening in terms of English language, you can read fucking anything. And it's really fucking.
I have to say though,
we discount it this way.
I owe Lewis Carroll a thank you because I liked the beginning of Jabberwocky. I'd kind of memorized it, and I got laid because I'd memorized Jabberwocky.
Yeah.
Seriously, my girlfriend at the time was living in Liverpool and I was in London. That's a good 3-hour plus 4-hour drive, right?
Yeah.
She was reading through a book of astrology, which I don't hold with, but she said, "Oh, there's a bit of a poem before each star sign."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, what's the one for Aquarius?" And she went, "'Twas Brillig." And I went, "And the slithy toes did mar and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the Borogroves and the Monraths outgrabe." And she went, "I'm driving down." The weirdest things will get you laid.
Nice.
My limited study of astronomy was good enough to get me laid. Girls like that shit when you point out constellations and stuff. Yeah. Well, when you're about 20 and it still seems cool.
Yeah.
My weird thing was my mom was like, "Fuck it, we're gonna buy you like to read stuff. we're gonna buy the encyclopedia set, door-to-door encyclopedia set."
Awesome.
So I go back to school at, I don't know, like end of 5th grade or whatever. What'd you read this summer? The Encyclopedia Britannica.
The encyclopedia. Yeah.
Well,
the whole fucking thing.
What article? All of it.
Yeah.
No, the whole fucking thing. Yeah.
And they went, "The fuck you say?" And started asking me Well, they started asking questions, and I'm like, okay, that's this and that and the other, and had a functional knowledge of broad topics. And they're like, "Ooh, now we're not," because I'm already, at this point, I'm already reading it at high school level, reading some college stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Now we don't know what to do with you."
Yeah.
Because it's a shitty little farm school out in the middle of goddamn nowhere. They don't have a gifted program. Their gifted program is basically milking cows. And I hate sports, so you can't put me on the track team or some bullshit like that, because the only reason I'm running is a fucking bear chasing me. And honestly, if there's a bear chasing me, I'm gonna stop and go, "All right, what's your fucking problem?"
Yeah.
And they know this.
Well, basically, because when you're that small and you're neurodivergent, you're like Johnny Five in the first Short Circuit movie. It's going, "Input." You're just reading through everything. And people used
They
to
basically-
like pass down books, and I just went through all of them, just read everything, and it's just like, look, you've got to encourage that. Get a library card.
They basically freaked out because nobody else had done this and they didn't know what the fuck to do. And so there was a point at which it was just like, okay, well, you have to go in the remedial class, and we had a math class that was required, like 10th grade or so. You have to do fractions, and I get in trouble and get sent to the principal's office, and he's like, "So what were you actually doing in class?" "My college physics homework." And he went, "What?"
Yeah.
"Yeah, I'm taking a college physics class on the side right now because I can drive, so I can make it to class in the evening."
Yeah.
And so I was finishing up my college physics homework, and because I got a test coming up on that on Friday, and I want to get ahead of the curve because I'm expected to be in the top 5% of the class. And he went, "Oh, Jesus Christ! All right, look. So my punishment, and you're going to love this. All right, look, I have to do something to punish you. So this is my buddy's phone number. I need you to figure out what the password is to get into his system."
Yeah.
What?
Well, the trick is to go straight through
yeah.
Falcon's Maze.
Well, we kind of actually had a bit of a clue. We knew a lot about this guy, and so he's got a BBS system, but it's password protected, and principal wanted into it, and I'm like, we could do this the left-handed way. We'll just go around the gate. All right, get to it. He comes back in, and I'm in his system poking around, and he's like, "You got in?" "Yeah, I got in and changed the password so nobody else can get in." Fuck. You cannot have access to the school computer. Why?
Yep.
Why?
Oh, they'll write the
so,
password
yeah,
down there somewhere. Yeah.
What do you do? What do you do with kids like that in a situation like that? You find a challenge for them. And he was bright enough to actually find a challenge.
No.
And then realized, oh shit, the challenge I gave you applies to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem comes in.
The problem is you don't give those children a challenge. You allow them to challenge themselves.
Yeah.
You allow them to work on themselves. Because once you get that point of like, once you can read at a university
That's
level,
the safe way, yeah.
right? Yeah, that's why you do it responsibly. You get that kid to the point where they can read anything that they're ever likely to want to read, and they won't want to read everything because reading gets fucking dull and boring eventually for most people because you've read fucking so much shit. You're like, I've fucking done this now. But then you go, now what do you want to learn about? You get the fuck out of the way of that person's learning. You say, what do you want to look? What do you want to do? What's interesting right now? What do you want to fucking play with? What do you want to fucking explore? And then they come back with you and say, this, that, blah 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 blah. And it can be as diverse as
those books.
You don't need that book. What you need is you need everyone to get the fuck out of the way of them, type thing. That's what Ivanovich talks about. Is just get the fuck out of the way of kids. They will teach themselves. Yeah.
Well, my trigger phrase was always
going back a step. There's a great line in The Wire, right? There's a great line in The Wire, which is one of the kids is the kids are all looked after by like one of the drug dealers who's like only maybe 1 or 2 years older than them, type thing, in a squat in the middle of wherever the fuck the hood is. I don't remember. Right, it's in Baltimore, but it's like wherever the fuck that squad is, type thing, and it's outside of the area, like just on the edge of the green, the common, in the middle of the fucking set of housing, type thing. And this kid turns around and says, he asked the question of like the older drug dealer, one of the underling drug dealers in the whole series, and says like oh, such and such and da 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 about this maths question, and it's like it's like a fucking fraction question, and this kid turns around and says like, how the fuck do you not know how to do this type thing? Like, how the fuck are you so fucking bad at maths? Yet every time every time you do the count, it's fucking like it's perfect. And this kid turns around and says, because every time I have to do the count, if it's wrong, someone clips me around the fucking ear at best, type thing, right? That kid had never had a fucking useful maths class in their whole fucking life, yeah? Like, never had a useful maths class in their whole life. But it was expected of them, right? And it's not the way to do it. You don't do fucking violence to kids, but it was expected of them to know how to fucking commit and do this one thing, do the fucking count right. So obviously, they were more than capable, given no fucking, like very little fucking input in how to do the fucking count at the end of the fucking day and make sure the count was right and double check it type thing. Yeah? I posit to you all that the majority of you probably didn't learn any maths as useful as what that kid learned off of a drug dealer in the story. In terms of actually how to process mathematics in a useful way, right? I was one of those kids. I've told the story about me like learning how to read outside of school, and then the school not knowing I could fucking read, and then the teacher dragging me in and saying, like, dragging my mum in, my mum fishing a fucking book out and saying, read that now, and me just fucking chiming off whatever the fuck mum's reading this fucking weekend of a book, I think. And it's like, of course I can fucking read. My mum and dad can both fucking read. Like, what the fuck you want about? The teacher's like, well, why don't you read books? They're fucking boring. The same thing happened with maths. My mum was a fucking accountant. My dad was a tradesman, like an engineer tradesman type thing. He was a toolmaker by trade, and then ended up working doing industrial aircraft maintenance stuff. I could obviously do maths. I was not taught to do maths by my school, right? There was no input of mathematics from my school. I remember my mum going to my year 7 fucking maths teacher and saying, why is my son not learning any maths off you? And she's like, well, because he does all his work. It's like, no, why is he not learning any maths? Because you're getting in the way of him learning. He's turning up, doing all the fucking rote work, but there's no avenue to get the fuck out of the way. The only place where that was acceptable in my school was when I was pelting myself across the fucking middle of the schoolyard, and Mr. Dean Edwards, who was a fucking legend at my school, was starting up an AV club. And he turned around and said, what's your name? And I was like, Kim, sir, what's your name? And he turned around and said, oh, good, you're in AV club now. And I was like, what? And he's like, you're in AV club now. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. He's like, don't worry, just turn up at this time, right? If anyone asks you what you're doing, you say you're going to Mr. Edwards AV club. And all of a sudden it was, here's a fucking camera, here's a fucking microphone, you're going to go around and do things and da-da-da and learn how all the systems work, learn how to, dub film one another, learn how fucking computers work and all this. That was the only opportunity in a school that was well known as a selective school in the middle of Sydney, one of the best selective schools in Sydney, right? Which I got to go to because I was a fucking local kid in that fucking area. That was the only reason why I had any opportunity to do anything creative in school. And you better fucking know, I quit school as soon as they would let me out the door. Because I knew it was a fucking prison cell.
My thing was always, why are we learning
That's where
this?
education is a fucking failure. It's not only why are we learning this, but like, why the fuck are you getting in the way of anything you want to do?
No,
yeah?
I mean,
and there's so many better ways of processing that. You go look at like, there's a great video by Lindy Beige talking about the fact that he went to a private school to the rest of the world, public school to the UK folks, right? And him talking about the quad out the front of the building and how the young men of that school, that very, very well off school, they had gone to the local quarry, they had quarried the stone, worked out how to get the stone back on their own type thing, not by fucking carrying it, by like moving it on like fucking rollers and all the rest of it type thing. And then they had built the amphitheater for the school, like, about a couple of years before he had gone there, and they were just sort of finishing off when he got there type thing. And that was the kids doing that thing. The kids decided they wanted to build an amphitheater. They knew about Greek. They'd done a bit of work in Greco-Roman studies about architecture or something. Someone interesting had come along to one of their school things and said, well, we could do this downstairs. We could have an amphitheater. And the kids had gone like, yeah, of course we will type thing. And then the teacher had got them some tools and then taught them how to sharpen chisels and bits and all that type of thing. These are a bunch of like toffee-nosed twats who are all going to go off and be like well off in the world type thing.
I so nearly got to go to.
But there's an expectation. That these kids are going to come up with a good idea, and then they're going to want to follow through and do it. And that is how education should work. It should not be rote learning fucking bullshit. It's not interesting.
I nearly went to a proper public school, just like. Well, we ended up moving before I could start going to school there.
Before you could start, yeah.
Which was a real.
I'm going to drink.
But yeah, the why and you can't. You can't was always a good motivator. You can't do that. I can.
You can't do anything out of this something, and it's like, no, I fucking can, and I'll do it just to spite you fuckers. Yep. I mean that's my young'un the whole way through. Anyone says you can't, she's like, no, I'm going to fucking spite you.
So lunchtimes were a kind of prison break affair.
Yeah.
We actually busted out of school at lunchtimes. This is just a day school. We weren't. It wasn't a boarding school, but like basically we'd escape the prison guards and go wandering in the local neighbourhood. Yeah. And one of us would keep an eye on the time.
I mean that's what it became for me. Was I just skipped class because I worked out that no one actually gave a shit because I worked out that I could do everything I needed to do, and if I turned up, I knew all the fucking answers. So eventually, it was just like, if I wasn't staring out the window in the class that the teacher hated me in because she would dob me in, you were just scampering over the back fence and fucking off into city somewhere or other to just do whatever type thing. Because like, what the fuck am I here for?
Well, most of the reason they do everything by rote is because that's how basically a lot of them think.
Yeah, around 99% of people can learn by rote.
Yeah. The people that are in those middle management positions think by rote, and people like us scare the hell out of them.
Yeah.
And the idea of giving us power and they don't have it, you know.
Oh yeah.
Look at America right now. The lowest people in the class are the ones fucking running things right now. Look how that's going.
Yep. Absolutely fucked.
Well, I think that there's going to be quite a lot of pushback on quite a lot of those things.
Oh, for sure.
Mm.
You know, for sure. But will it come with enough? Will it come with enough time? And will it come with enough power to stop the fucker and to stop the takeover type thing?
Mm.
Anyway, we could digest into American politics for the next fucking 100 years.
Yeah, that's
still not cover it.
Yeah.
I think the better discussion is wondering how long is this guy gonna live.
That's my question.
If he makes it 4 years.
Yeah, that's. Yeah. I was questioning why he hadn't died of a heart attack on the toilet, like before he got there. Like why the NSA hadn't knocked him dead. You know, someone at the CIA just gives him a hamburger that, like, you know.
Everybody forgets that he actually did die in office the first time.
Did he?
Yeah, they had to jumpstart the fucker because when he got COVID, he fucking keeled over, and they're like, "Fuck, we got to fix this."
Yeah,
so they jumpstarted the fucker.
Should have just shone an ultraviolet light up his ass. That was apparently good for COVID.
That would have helped, yeah, and some bleach. But the whole thing is, at that point, somebody should have went,
do we have to?
The world would be better off.
Can't be like nature documentarians where they go, no, we can't intervene. It's the law of the jungle. It's sad, but everything's got to eat.
Unfortunately, one of his cultists was in charge of let's re-jumpstart the dumb shit. And if you've ever had to bring a car back to life that, like seized up, it's never quite right after that. And nobody fucking discusses it.
Mm.
When you have that computer that you brought back from the dead, it never quite runs right again.
No.
Maybe we need to think about this a little bit.
We need to let Donald Trump's magic smoke escape.
Turn him off and turn him back on again.
Yeah.
See if that fixes things.
Yeah. Oh, just... I mean, it's probably not going to live the healthiest lifestyle. I mean, Barack Obama was in brilliant shape before he became president. You look at him, like, when he's finished his second term, the guy was, like, white-haired and haggard-looking.
Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter went in basically in the prime of life and came out 90.
Yeah.
Any president who actually paid attention, it just grinds.
Yeah.
And yet this fucking idiot looks exactly the same as he went in because he doesn't fucking do anything.
On the plus side,
attention.
I will lay dollars to donuts, which is a weird saying now because a donut costs more than $1 in most cases, but dollars to donuts that he's been on Ozempic.
Almost assuredly, yeah.
But the mad thing about that is we don't have really a long-term sort of like study of what happens when you do a shitload of Ozempic. Because most people who try Ozempic don't do the whole year. The side effects are so woeful for long-term Ozempic use that most people quit. So we might find out what Ozempic does to you over a 3 or 4 year period. But that and the stress of doing the job.
Aren't you supposed to quit after a year?
But one of the side effects is like uncontrollable diarrhea.
Goes through the fucking comorbidity goes through the roof after 1 year. There's basically it can fix you for a year, and then you should have fixed everything else.
Yeah,
inside
like your lifestyle and your stress levels, your blood pressure,
lifestyle and your stress level, and everything else should have gone through. And then they put you on something else if you still need it afterwards type thing. The whole idea of it was it's a very, very short term in terms of a lifetime, short term corrective procedure that's and there's been a bunch of research now about people using Ozempic for weight loss, using it for a similar period as you would use it for insulin insulin diabetes thing, whatever, and then doesn't have the same effect. And it's like it can do, but again, you have to put up with the fucking side effects of this shit, and it's not fucking fun. It is not fucking. You're not happy, Larry.
But also, when
but
they shut.
Conversely, it's way better than bariatric surgery. It's 100%. Like everyone, you shouldn't be put into. They should have no one going to bariatric surgery now because everyone. If you can't deal with a year of Ozempic and then changing your fucking lifestyle, there is no way you're ever going to deal well with bariatric surgery and then having to deal with what you have to do with a bariatric band. It's fucking bullshit. I only know this because one of my best mates up in Sydney used to do bariatric surgery on people. The outcomes are not good.
His biggest health problem is that he's basically stopped USA aid going to various countries in the world, and that's how the CIA was getting places. They'd literally go in as aid workers to be able to sort of poke about in other countries because it's the easiest way to get in to a country that's marginally hostile towards the US. So he's really fucked the CIA. And now that they're looking at all the budgets for all the different government departments, they're bound to throw up some Secret Service scary shit. It's like he's almost doing the opposite of when Kennedy said, "I will shine a light into the darkness of the government and tell you what I find." It's just about the most dangerous thing you can do or say is to mess with certain people's budgets when they're doing sneaky shit and they've been able to make money disappear. So I don't know what the fuck's going to happen if they ever get access to the Treasury information. Because none of the people Elon Musk is taking round have ever signed any kind of Official Secrets Act or whatever the equivalent is in America.
Well, they're not even employed. They're not employed by the department.
No.
For what you can work out, they're not actually employed by. None of them are being hired properly.
So they're doing some very dangerous shit against some scary and dangerous people.
Bizarre shit.
He's going to have a heart attack or he's going to fall down the stairs one morning.
Yeah.
And then they'll take JD Vance into an office and say, "We will kill everybody you even like."
Yeah.
If you fuck with us,
up and follow the fucking rules.
What exciting thing do we think you can catch? Yeah.
He'll get hit by a golf ball.
Yep.
No. Thing is, he's real buddy with Putin, so he might fall out a window.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. There was a week of that, wasn't there? People falling out of windows in the Russian state
and getting shot down.
4 years of it.
Yeah. I've had a lot of it.
Yeah. No, they had a lot of it like last week or the week before. A whole bunch of people fell out of windows in a week. Yeah. It was like a bizarre number of. It's like no, and they're all fucking like high up generals, and it's a bit like Putin's having a bad week.
Might have an aeroplane accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've also got a lot of airplanes falling out of the sky right now in the U.S. So.
It just might happen.
Isn't the Potomac River like kind of close to where the White House is? Isn't it? Aren't they kind of close to one another in terms of geographical location for the?
See one from the other. Yes,
I thought so. I'm pretty sure that big spiky thing that like where they all stand as presidents was like kind of close to the White House and kind of close to the Potomac River. But I don't know because it's American geography and I'm not that good at it type thing. I can kind of get where Iowa is. The only important state.
The idea that you didn't know exactly what was happening in that particular bit of airspace is real weird. It's really suspicious.
Yeah. The fact that subsequently they have sacked or they are actively trying to sack a whole bunch of fucking air flight controllers in America right now.
Shortly before, they got the head guy at the FAA to resign. And in the following weeks, there have been like 3 airplane accidents. It's just like, what the fuck?
What the fuck? Yeah.
But the idea that you didn't know where a Black Hawk was and where a passenger liner was in that little tiny bit of airspace is real weird.
Yeah. Yep. It's fucking insane.
So I wonder who else was on that jet.
Well, they actually knew where they were. It's just that allegedly the helicopter didn't wait for the jet to pass. But, when you get right down to it, let's go back to where this problem starts. And the irony is the airport is named for the guy that caused the problem we're having.
Yeah. Yeah. Reagan went in, didn't meet the strikers' demands. All the strikers got fucking sacked, which means you took out every educated person in that whole fucking department across the fucking country. And they put it in the hands of the worst, like the one system you can't run that system under. You cannot run a for-profit system of safety and bureaucracy. If anyone hasn't seen it, I would advise reading Fight Club by Falanik. Brilliant expose into how safety systems work, how work health safety works. What is it work health safety over there? Is it OHS?
We work out the cost of the insurance payments.
Yeah.
And if that number
work out the cost of the is less than
is less than the cost of a recall, we don't do one.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So interesting times ahead.
Just a little bit.
And he's just withdrawn aid for South Africa based on the fact that they were being racist.
Precedent times, damn it.
Sorry?
I, for one, would rather live in precedented times, damn it.
Yeah. It'd be nice to be bored. But yeah.
I could fuck off and do gardening or something.
What happens when the Canadians get the Second Amendment?
Yeah, let's talk about the Canadians for a second.
The Canadians don't need Second Amendment. They already have access to all the firearms. They're all fucking armed. They just don't show it off. They don't do stupid shit with it. Right?
The Canadians have 3 speeds. I'm sorry. You're going to be sorry. And we need to rewrite the Geneva Convention rulebook again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you go through and start figuring out where the rules in the Geneva Convention come from, a third of those are caused by Canadians.
Yeah. Never fight a war where being outside can kill you. Yeah. That's just a golden rule. You can ask Napoleon and Adolf Hitler and Stalin about why you shouldn't, if just being outdoors can fucking kill you, don't fight a war there. Because generally we don't hold wars indoors. It's just not a thing that we tend to do. It would be very civilized, wouldn't it? It's raining. We'll hold the war indoors then.
Yeah.
But
well, actually we do, and that's coming up this weekend. But it's pretend war for kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because let's face it, what are sports? It's kiddie war. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even if you go back, like you're talking about, like, you know, let's go and get, like, you know, proper fucking, like, you know, prince on this side, prince on that side, a couple of fucking armies type thing, everyone's going to line up. We're not going to go through with the battle. You know, the prince's chosen ones are going to walk forward type thing, and we'll settle this the proper way type thing. We're not going to kill everyone on the road. We don't do that anymore.
Well, to quote Wellington, it is not the business of generals to take pot shots at each other.
Yeah, yeah, but it fucking should be.
Because they had riflemen with a bead on Napoleon during the Battle of Waterloo. They were just sitting there going, I could take him out now.
You know, let's go back to dueling. You know, if Russia wants to invade the US and the US want to invade Russia, or they want to have a conflict, right, type thing, then what we'll do is we'll get Putin on one side, we'll get Donald Trump on the other side, right? We'll give them both, you know, a fully auto Glock with like a double stack fucking, like, you know, 30 round mag, right? They can stand 5 foot away from one another. They have like go, and then whichever one is still alive after 10 minutes and no one's allowed to touch them in those 10 minutes, then they get to be the president of both countries. And if neither of them are alive, then we go back to what the fuck we were doing before. See what the outcome is.
Rollerball.
Rollerball would also work. Another good film.
Just the rollerball solution. Get a bunch of guys.
Big steel ball.
We could also be running for
I think
elections.
Putin's ex-KGB. I think he would win that one.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
but,
maybe.
You know, let's be honest. There's going to be no losers in this. So,
no.
You know. But let's look at old films as ways to deal with politics. I want American elections to be the Running Man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, there was a TV show in the 1980s that was essentially a blood sport, but with no blood spilled. The Krypton Factor, where you actually had to be intelligent and physically fit in order to win.
Yep. Maybe we could like solve it by like having gladiators be like how you become the US president, but like after you've like bounced off everything, you get to the end of it, and then you have to do like some sums or like, you know, hold a lecture about something interesting and important that actually, like, you know, that like a bunch of scientists like come in and like listen to you give an expose about, like, you know, nuclear fission fuel being the next great thing, right? But if anything you say is stupid, they can buzz you out like America's Got Talent style, like, you know, Got Talent style type thing. And if you get 3 fails from, like, you know, specialists,
I believe they already tried that.
Yeah.
We already have a TV show for this.
No,
but smarter than a 5th grader.
No,
Well, I was
but
gonna
no,
say
we're going to put the
presidential
president. No, we're going to put
debates.
the president. We're going to put the president through this, right? And if he fails, then we get to then he doesn't get to become the president, and we get to cut his head off.
That's what I'm saying. We already have a TV show for this too. Are you
No, we
smarter
have
than a fifth grader?
we have gladiators, and then we have like like you have gladiators, then we have like some ability to like talk, reference, because you have to be you got to be one of those people who's self-conscious and be able to stand up, unself-conscious, and but stand in front of people, do that thing. So we do like got talent, and then you've got what's the other one? Explain it like on 5, whatever the fuck it is. We don't have it in Australia.
Are you smarter than a fifth grader?
Are you smarter than a fifth grader? Right? And it's like those 3 steps. And if you don't make it through if you don't make it through all 3, your head gets cut off. If you want to be the president, that's it.
Yep.
Yep. Problem solved.
Yeet machine.
Yeah.
Because seriously, some of these motherfuckers cannot beat a fifth grader in general knowledge questions. At which point, you don't get to be in charge of shit.
No.
Fuck right off.
Yeah, JFK is not allowed to be in charge of anything because everyone who's done any like he doesn't get past the first bucket. Then none of them get past the fitness thing. And then if we've managed to get someone who's fit enough to actually pass through the fitness thing, because they're actually like the fucking right age to be the fucking president, right? I.e., younger than fucking me. Yeah. Then they get to like do the general education knowledge fucking questions, and if they're shown to be a fucking idiot, they're not allowed to fucking be it type thing. So that rules out like JFK being the head of the fucking health department. Like what the fuck?
Service guarantees citizenship.
Actually,
yeah.
Let's go the Starship Troopers route. You've got to serve.
No more
Pretty
heel spikes.
simple. Yeah. You want to run the country, you're potentially going to tell people.
A problem with that because you're going to be the commander in chief. Okay.
Yeah.
What did you do in the military? Well, I wasn't in the military. Then get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't understand how the army works or the military works, you're the last person that should be sending guys into a fight.
Who's the guy that he was a corporal in, I want to say it was Gulf War 1, who they've now put in charge of the military? What's his name? I can't think of it. He's just like one of the he's sort of passed over because everything else is sort of like happening in throw shit, stick windows type thing. Throw shit at walls, see what sticks. 2 weeks of Trumpism type thing. But he's one of the most bizarre ones ever, and it was fascinating listening to people talk about the fact that like the generals will just roll over him because he's a corporal. He was a corporal like in the fucking infantry type thing. Went to Gulf War. And now he's been put in charge of, because he'll do whatever fucking Trump tells him to. He's been put in charge of the fucking department. But the response from everyone who knew anything about the White House and what the fuck, internal politics type thing, they were just like, it was reading an article, listening to an article about it type thing, listening to a podcast about it, and they were just saying, the generals are just going to like fuck him up every single step of the way.
However,
there's no way.
There's
no way he can keep up with them type thing.
What was the guy's name that was Kamala Harris's running mate? Tim Walz.
I'd let him be president.
But he was basically a sergeant in the in the National Guard, and well respected by his men. And it's just like, well,
But it's like not a fucking cretin.
Even that guy.
Like I don't. Even that guy. Like the most.
It's not easy to be a sergeant.
The most based person you could find in the whole fucking thing, and it's like you're more qualified to fucking run a country than anyone else's type thing.
I did like how blunt he was. I thought that will be fun if he's ever on a podium telling people how it is. Because
shut the fuck up.
I don't think he suffered fools gladly. He's just one of those sort of like down home. Because wasn't he the senator for Minnesota or somewhere?
Something like that.
Somewhere like that.
Yeah.
So he just wasn't going to take a lot of people talking total crap at him.
He's the governor of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Governor of Minnesota.
They're a sensible bunch of people.
Well, they have to actually balance the budget and do things and like
Well, also
they know how the machinations of shit work.
Outside will fucking kill you. That's a good place to raise presidents. Can you die outside? Yes. Have you nearly done it? Yes. So you understand the value of human life, even if it's just yours.
I've worked it out. What we do is we go to Star Trek land, right? We're going to do what's the thing that the Vulcans do when they become like an adult, when they're they've got to like go out into the they've got some weird fucking name for it.
Konar training.
Yeah. That's the training for president. You have to make it through that shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we just invented Star Trek. Sorry, you want to be in charge of anything, you have to do that shit.
Yeah, we're shipping you off to the Maasai for 6 months.
Yeah, and like every single 16-year-old, like passes because they're all like, I want to go and do this. It looks like fun. Every single 15-year-old's like, you're all more qualified than the president. The president died out there. Good. Pull your fucking head in, learn some fucking science, do some fucking maths. Have a fucking real job. Don't want to be in charge of anything. You can be the president, the prime minister. Yeah, I still stick by Terry Pratchett's rule. If you want to be in charge of anything, the first stop is you go to jail. The second stop is you go to the special hospital for the special people who have broken brains. Yeah. He was completely right in the Lost Continent. In the Lost Continent, if you want to be in charge of anything, then the outcome of that is you should not be trusted to have any responsibility whatsoever. You cannot be trusted. We'll vote you in. You'll get voted into these fucking positions if you're fucking competent, and we need you to fucking do it. But fuck you, put your hand up to do it. It's like, no, you're the last person, because no one with half a brain wants to fucking be the president.
Oh, it's a shit job, but not much money really for the amount of hassle it is.
For the basic fact of a large proportion of the world's population are gonna want to fucking shoot you dead. As soon as you become that person, someone's gonna want to fucking shoot you dead. It's like, no, that's a fucking insane thing to want to fucking do.
Was it? One of the US presidents was in loads of duels and shit. Is it like Grover Cleveland or somebody? It's somebody like one of those sort of lesser regarded presidents. And I don't think anybody would be stupid enough to mouth off at Teddy Roosevelt. Can you imagine? You just get a punch in the gob, wouldn't you? 30 seconds later, he's across that desk coming at you.
Yeah.
Was it Aaron Burr was actually in a duel as president?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, one of them was.
Yeah. Somebody was actually I remember this from a commercial. The guy's got toffee or something in his mouth and can't speak. Gets on the phone. He's got the gun behind him, the whole 9 yards. What president was in a duel? And it was, it's Aaron Burr. Pretty sure that's who it was. Yeah, I'd love to see Teddy Roosevelt come back from the dead right now. That'd be fun to watch.
Yep.
Now there's a movie somebody needs to make.
Oh, sorry. Nobody could hear me. Okay.
Now we can.
Okay. I forgot this mic is super sensitive. I don't have it by my mouth. Nobody can hear me. Anyway, Aaron Burr, Andrew Jackson, 2 U.S. presidents involved in duels. So, AI.
Yeah, but Burr was actually in office when it happened, which is we're never going to see that again. Come on.
Is that pre or post Lincoln?
I believe that's pre.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jackson is pre.
Yeah, because you can imagine it being significantly more difficult after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, where the president turns around to his Secret Service dude and says, "Hold my coat." Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be nice for the Secret Service as well, because somebody was just going to literally pick up a firearm
as they go through and cut funding. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
Oh, we're cutting funding, and oh, by the way, we accidentally cut all the funding for the Secret Service. What?
Yeah.
Well, he's today's exciting Trumpism was removing Joe Biden's security clearance.
For anyone not in the know, so that means he's not.
We have 13 more.
So that means he's no longer protected by Secret Service. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's his security clearance, so he can no longer look at anything.
Oh, so he can no longer access the files. Yep. Yeah.
No,
which is ironic because in the past, the reason presidents, after they're out of office, stay with a full security clearance is because somebody will come along and go, now wait a minute. This thing is going down somewhere else on the planet. Oh, sorry about that. I pissed in somebody's Cheerios, and now you got to deal with it. Here's what I know.
Yeah.
And so they used to use the former presidents as basically intel. Because, okay, you've talked to this guy. You've been in a room with this guy. What do I need to know going in?
What do I need to know?
That kind of stuff.
Well, just you have a working rapport with this person who from another country type thing. They know you as being the president. You were there and did the deal with them type thing. Obviously important. Yeah.
And because
but also comical because you're talking about the person who you're talking about the child who kept all the fucking boxes at Mar-a-Lago in his fucking toilet. Like, if anyone was to have the fucking security clearance taken off them, like,
Yep.
and then face a fucking federal court over it type thing, you're like, that dude.
Neither Trump nor Elon Musk could pass a security check.
Yeah, well, they can't.
They wouldn't be able to pass the security check, the simple background check that you do if you were letting someone be, a crossing guard.
Yeah.
There it is. That's where I was going.
Yep.
They couldn't pass the fucking check to be a bus driver.
Yeah.
Yep. Seriously. If I know a couple of people that drive school bus. Neither one of those fuck can actually be a school bus driver.
I know someone who's a school bus driver too. She's a director of the company where I have to go later. Cooperative company, but still a company.
Well, yeah, it's really weird.
We're at time. We're at time, please. Thank you, peoples.
Okay. I shall
I was
stop
going to say
the
time,
stream.
gentlemen. Please, thank you.
But we'll
Stop
leave
the
this
stream.
on.
Bye, stream.
Stop
Thanks for
the stream.
coming.
Bye, peeps.
I'll come and write notes later.
Here we go. Stopping the stream. I wonder if I've even got any kind of accurate clock to stop it at 10:30 GMT.
GMT.
No, the clock's not that accurate, so I'm stopping it now. It's about an hour, about 2.5 hours. So thanks to everybody that tuned in. Thanks in advance to everybody that watches it. And we'll see you all next time. And feel free to join in the chat and suggest stuff. Speak to you later.